Chapter 24:31. The gloomy middle-aged man didn't know that he had been targeted and was still bragging. A moment passed. The other two got up and left. Life is short, we need to enjoy ourselves. Going against the dragons, isn't it courting death? The gloomy middle-aged man shook his head and sat on the top of the mountain, basking in the sun while drinking wine. If you want to live a comfortable life, you shouldn't have come to the Dragon God Palace. Suddenly, a voice rang out. Who? The gloomy middle-aged man was shocked and glanced at the void in front of him, because the voice came from the void in front of him. Swish! Before his voice faded, a muscular young man appeared in the void. Who else could it be but Qin Feiyang? Why are you here? The gloomy middle-aged man suddenly stood up, his eyes full of surprise. I'm looking for you. Qin Feiyang laughed. Looking for me? The gloomy middle-aged man was slightly stunned and frowned. We don't seem to be friends? Not before, but it's hard to say in the future. Qin Feiyang sat opposite the gloomy middle-aged man with a smile. Seeing this, the gloomy middle-aged man quickly got up and prepared to leave, as if he had met the god of plague. At present, in everyone's eyes, Qin Feiyang was indeed the god of plague. Not only did he kill everyone in this assessment, but he also killed the island master. With these two crimes added together, the dragons would definitely not let him go easily. So now no one was willing to get close to him, for fear of being implicated and implicating themselves. If you want to die, you can go. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly, grabbed the wine pot on the table and tasted it. It was extremely spicy, like a burning fire. The gloomy middle-aged man's body stiffened and looked at Qin Feiyang in fear. Compared to the immortal drunk, this wine is really worthless. Qin Feiyang shook his head, put down the wine pot in his hand, looked up at the gloomy middle-aged man and smiled. Sit down. The middle-aged man returned to the stone bench with a gloomy face, looked at Qin Feiyang and asked, What do you want to do? Very simple. Take me away from the Dragon God Palace. Qin Feiyang transmitted his voice. That was right. Since he could use the ancient castle to bring Fire Lotus and the others into the Dragon God Palace, he could also use the spatial item to leave the Dragon God Palace. However, it was definitely impossible for him to control the castle. Because the castle was exposed outside, it would be blocked by the barrier at the entrance. Therefore, he had to find someone with a spatial divine object to help him. Speaking of which, he was lucky. He had met someone who possessed a spatial divine item so quickly. Leave the Dragon God Palace? Hearing Qin Feiyang's words, the gloomy middle-aged man was stunned. You just came in, why are you leaving again? Could it be that this person regretted entering the Dragon God Temple and wanted to escape? How could this be? After signing the fate contract, even if he escaped from the Dragon God Palace, he would not be able to escape the control of the dragons. Besides, if you want to leave, you can leave on your own. Why do you have to come to him for help? I know what you're thinking. First, I don't regret entering the Dragon God Temple. Second, I don't want to escape either. The reason why I ask for your help is because you have a spatial divine object. Qin Feiyang snickered. If you don't want to escape, then why do you want me to take you out? Don't tell me you don't have legs? The gloomy middle-aged man raised his eyebrows. Qin Feiyang sent his voice. Because right now I can't go out. Can't go out? What do you mean? The gloomy middle-aged man looked at him in shock. Qin Feiyang muttered. I've already removed the fate contract, so I can't go through the entrance. So that's how it is. The gloomy middle-aged man nodded in realization. But then, he suddenly stood up, stared at Qin Feiyang in shock and stuttered. "WWW, did you say?" Calm down, calm down. Qin Feiyang waved his hand, indicating for him to sit down. The gloomy middle-aged man turned a deaf ear. How could he remain calm? He actually removed the fate contract. This was an inconceivable thing. Fine. I'll say it again. I've already removed the fate contract. Qin Feiyang helplessly said. That's impossible. The gloomy middle-aged man immediately shook his head. Only the Lord of the Dragon God Palace can remove the fate contract. This person killed the Lord of the Isle and became enemies with the dragons. How could the Lord of the Dragon God Palace help him remove the fate contract? Don't be so surprised, a mere fate contract won't be able to stop me. Qin Feiyang lightly smiled. The gloomy middle-aged man stared straight at Qin Feiyang. From the looks of it, he's not joking. Can he really remove the fate contract? The gloomy middle-aged man slowly sat down, a hint of desire slowly appearing in his eyes. Qin Feiyang saw all of this. He already expected this. No one from the Dragon God Palace could resist the temptation of removing the fate contract. Next, Qin Feiyang didn't say anything else and just silently looked at the gloomy middle-aged man. He believed, this person will take the initiative to speak. As expected, a moment later, the gloomy middle-aged man looked up at Qin Feiyang and sent his voice. I can help you, but I have a condition. I agree. Qin Feiyang nodded. The gloomy middle-aged man was stunned. I haven't even told you my condition and you already agreed? Your condition is nothing more than to help you remove the fate contract. Qin Feiyang lightly smiled. Smart. The gloomy middle-aged man smiled. You flatter me. Qin Feiyang smiled. The gloomy middle-aged man asked, when are you leaving? Right away. Qin Feiyang replied. All right. I'm going back to the cave to pack up. Wait for me here. Saying so, the gloomy middle-aged man stood up and flew towards a nearby mountain. Halfway up the mountain there was a cave. The gloomy middle-aged man landed at the entrance of the cave, turned his head to look at Qin Feiyang, then entered the cave without looking back. Pack up? Are you in such a hurry to leave? Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed slightly and instantly disappeared without a trace. Inside the cave, whether it was the layout or the decoration, it was much more exquisite than Qin Feiyang's cave. There was a separate cultivation room, lounge and reception room. At this moment, in the reception room, the gloomy middle-aged man stood on the ground, his eyes flickering. Suddenly, a trace of gloominess flashed in his eyes and he took out the image crystal. Who do you want to send a message to? But at this moment, Qin Feiyang's voice suddenly sounded. What? The gloomy middle-aged man was shocked. The next moment, Qin Feiyang appeared in front of the gloomy middle-aged man and looked at the image crystal in his hand, his eyes full of sarcasm. Don't get me wrong, I'm sending a message to my family to tell them the good news. The gloomy middle-aged man said. But his expression was extremely flustered. Is that so? Qin Feiyang laughed. Really? I'm not lying to you. The gloomy middle-aged man vowed. Don't take me for a fool. You must be thinking of sending a message to your friend from the law enforcement hall and telling him that I can break the fate contract. In that case, you can use this opportunity to be severely injured by the Dragon God Palace and have a meteoric rise. Qin Feiyang smiled. I didn't. The gloomy middle-aged man shook his head. Don't be so nervous. I don't care about such a small matter. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. The gloomy middle-aged man looked at Qin Feiyang skeptically. How could there be such a magnanimous person in the world? Let's go. Qin Feiyang smiled and activated an altar. There was still some distance between the entrance and the first island. Activating the altar could save a lot of time. Okay. The gloomy middle-aged man nodded repeatedly and stopped packing. He followed Qin Feiyang and jumped onto the space divine item. Whoosh! Very soon, the two of them arrived above the square at the entrance. There was not a single soul in the huge square. Qin Feiyang asked, is there usually no one guarding this place? Long Chong used to guard it personally. But now that Long Chong has been killed and the body of the Dragon God Palace Lord has been destroyed, they probably won't have the mind to care about this entrance for the time being. Besides, the barrier at the entrance was personally set up by the ancestral dragon. It is very safe. The gloomy middle-aged man said. All right. Send me to your space divine item. 3 breaths. After 3 breaths, if there is no movement, I will destroy your space divine item. Chapter 2432. After a while, Qin Feiyang walked down the stone stairs. Along the way, he encountered a few disciples of the Dragon God Palace returning from outside, and he avoided them one by one. Because now was not the past, he had to be careful and not leave any loopholes. The gloomy middle-aged man was silent all the way. Qin Feiyang didn't pay attention to him. He flew to an empty mountain peak and called Li Changhe and Wang Daoyuan out. Li Changhe said, Young master, I think we should act at night. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly and said, We're not thieves. What's the difference between night and day? Isn't that being a thief? Li Changhe and Wang Daoyuan looked at each other. What action? The gloomy middle-aged man was stunned and looked at the three of them suspiciously. Don't ask what you shouldn't ask. Wang Daoyuan suddenly frowned, his eyes full of murderous intent. The gloomy middle-aged man shrank his neck and dared not say a word. Qin Feiyang looked at Wang Daoyuan and said with a smile, let's go directly to the herb field. Wang Daoyuan looked at Li Changhe, who smiled helplessly. What was the use of looking at him? Could he change the young master's decision? Wang Daoyuan also smiled bitterly and opened a teleportation altar. The gloomy middle-aged man looked at Qin Feiyang cautiously and asked, can I not go? Although he did not know what these people were going to do, he could tell that it was definitely not something good. What do you think? Qin Feiyang looked at him mockingly. The gloomy middle-aged man smiled bitterly, knowing that he would not change anything even if he asked. Li Changhe said, young master, we can go, but we'd better change our appearances. Yes. After all, we'll still be in the divine land in the future. If our identities are exposed, I'm afraid we'll be enemies with the whole world. Wang Daoyuan said. Enemies with the whole world? The gloomy middle-aged man was shocked. What were these people going to do? It was so serious. He vaguely felt that he had been dragged onto a pirate ship. Okay. Qin Feiyang thought for a moment and nodded with a smile. Li Changhe and the other man immediately took out an illusory form pill and threw it into their mouths, turning into two middle-aged men. Qin Feiyang also took an illusory form pill and changed his appearance into a white-haired old man. Hurry up! Li Changhe looked at the gloomy middle-aged man and shouted. The gloomy middle-aged man opened his mouth to say something, but in the end, he had no choice but to use the illusory form pill to change his appearance. Let's go! Qin Feiyang waved his hand and the four of them stepped onto the altar one after another. Holy Dragon City. It was located northwest of the Dragon God Mountain Range. It was 5 teleportation altars away from the Dragon God Palace. As one of the largest cities in the northern part of the Divine Land, Holy Dragon City was naturally prosperous. In the center of the city there was a mansion. This mansion occupied 1/10 of Holy Dragon City. There were many halls and pavilions. There was even a vast mountain range in the mansion. This was the City Lord's mansion. The City Lord's mansion in the Holy Dragon City was naturally far superior to the City Lord's mansion in the Black Rock City. The guards here were at least at the immortal level. There were also countless servants and maids. In that vast mountain range, there was a medicinal field that covered an area of tens of miles. The herbs were glowing and swaying in the wind. For example, the creation tree, the divine infant tree, the nirvana divine tree. Anyway, it had everything. Moreover, the herbs here were all more than 10,000 years old. For example, the nirvana divine tree was as thick as a bucket, and there were many divine fruits on it. Whoosh! Suddenly, 4 figures landed in the sky above the herb field. They were like ghosts and had no aura at all. They were Qin Feiyang and the other 3. So many. Looking at the herb field below, even Qin Feiyang could not help but feel excited. The herbs here were enough for him to use for a lifetime. Could this be? The gloomy middle-aged man looked bewildered. That's right. This is the City Lord's mansion of the Holy Dragon City. Our goal is this herbal field. Li Changhe looked at the gloomy middle-aged man and said, What? The gloomy middle-aged man's eyes trembled. They actually came to rob the herb field of the City Lord's mansion of the Holy Dragon City? Lunatics. What a bunch of lunatics. Qin Feiyang came back to his senses and said, Fire Lotus, are you done? Get ready and come out to help. Okay. Fire Lotus's voice immediately sounded in Qin Feiyang's mind. Qin Feiyang scanned the sky above the herb field. There was not even the slightest fragrance of herbs in the void. It seemed that there was also a barrier hidden here. Thinking of this, he raised his arm and pointed in the air. A divine power suddenly rolled out and blasted into the herb field below. Isn't this alerting the enemy? The gloomy middle-aged man was shocked. Shut up. Without the young lord's order, if you dare to say another word, I will tear your mouth apart. Li Changhe shouted coldly. The gloomy middle-aged man trembled and immediately stood aside obediently, but his heart was extremely panicked. Although the city lord of the divine land was a human on the surface, it was actually controlled by the dragons behind the scenes. The Holy Dragon City was no exception. In other words, the actions of these three people were undoubtedly openly provoking the dragons. These three people were bold, had backing, and were not afraid of death. But he was different. He was just an insignificant person. Wasn't it suicide to go against the dragons? The gloomy middle-aged man wanted to run away immediately. But he didn't have the guts. With a boom, Qin Feiyang's divine power blasted into the void, and a barrier suddenly appeared, covering the entire herb field. Sure enough, Qin Feiyang whispered. Wang Daoyuan said, Young lord, this barrier has the city lord's aura. It must be the barrier set up by the city lord. Li Changhe frowned and said, This city lord is at the peak of the ninth heaven realm. We don't have the ability to break it, only cough cough. Qin Feiyang coughed and interrupted Li Changhe. Li Changhe was stunned at first, then came to a realization. He glanced at the gloomy middle-aged man and said, Young lord, we have to let Miss Fire Lotus do it. I've already informed her. Qin Feiyang laughed secretly. Who dares to trespass into the herb field? But at this moment, accompanied by an angry shout, a white figure broke through the air like lightning. Dragon's emissary. Wang Daoyuan and Li Changhe looked over, and their pupils suddenly shrank. It's over. The dragon's emissary is here. Now I can't clear my name even if I jump into the Yellow River. The gloomy middle-aged man cried in his heart. Once the dragon's emissary saw him, he would definitely think that he was an accomplice of these people. At that time, even if he had 100 mouths, he wouldn't be able to get away with it. Qin Feiyang also turned to look at the white figure, and a cold smile appeared in his eyes. That's right. The person who came was the white-robed old woman. In fact, he didn't want to rob the Holy Dragon City's city lord's mansion, because just the treasures in the Dragon God Palace were enough for him to use for several lifetimes. But this white-robed old woman was not tactful, and used her identity as a dragon to make things difficult for him on the plains. She even wanted him to kneel? What a joke. In his life, other than his parents, elders, ancestors, and people he respected, who else had he kneeled to? Was a mere dragon's emissary qualified to do so? He had always been the kind of person who would return respect tenfold. But if you were unreasonable and came looking for trouble, he wouldn't be polite either. Who are you? What are you doing in the herb field? The white-robed old woman landed in front of Qin Feiyang and the other three, and shouted with a cold expression. Are you stupid? A few strangers sneaking into the herb field. They must be up to no good. Qin Feiyang sneered. Thieves are still so arrogant. The white-robed old woman was stunned. Thieves? Do you think we're here to be thieves? As thieves, how dare we stand face to face with you, the dragon's emissary? We're here to rob you. Rob in broad daylight, understand? Qin Feiyang sneered. The white-robed old woman was stunned, and she didn't recover for a long time. What kind of world was this? Even thieves were so arrogant? Boom! All of a sudden, a monstrous aura surged out. The white-robed old woman said sternly, Are you borrowing courage from the heavens? How dare you touch the things of the dragons? You don't need to borrow courage from the heavens. As for the dragons, to be honest, I really don't take them seriously, especially a small character like you. Qin Feiyang laughed. How dare you? The white-robed old woman was furious, and her monstrous aura suddenly turned into a huge wave, rolling toward Qin Feiyang and the other three. Seeing this, the gloomy middle-aged man immediately hid behind Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang patted Li Changhe and the other two, and said lightly, Keep them alive. Yes. The two of them responded respectfully. Boom! Almost at the same time, the two released their aura like a torrent of beasts, crushing the white-robed old woman's aura. What? The white-robed old woman's face was shocked. As soon as Li Changhe and Wang Daoyuan released their aura, she knew their cultivation. Early stage 9th heaven realm. There were actually 2 early stage 9th heaven realm. Evil creature, I advise you to surrender obediently. Wang Daoyuan shouted. The white-robed old woman was only a half-step 9th heaven realm, because he obeyed her orders because of her identity. But now, after following Qin Feiyang, he was no longer afraid. Don't think that just because your cultivation is stronger than mine, you can do whatever you want. Let me tell you, it's not too late to turn back. Otherwise, even if you escape to the ends of the earth, the dragons will not let you go. The white-robed old woman shouted with an extremely arrogant expression. In the entire divine land, and even the entire ancient world, who dared to be presumptuous in front of the dragons? Even a tiger would have to obediently lie down. Dragons? I was indeed very afraid in the past. But now, in my eyes, you are just a lowly worm. Wang Daoyuan smiled contemptuously. Finish speaking. He took a step forward and slapped the white-robed old woman with his palm. The white-robed old woman was shocked and angry. He actually dared to say that she was lowly? Saying that she was a worm? But Wang Daoyuan and Li Changhe's cultivation made her feel afraid. Stall for time. Right. As long as she could stall for time until the city lord came, killing these people would be as easy as slaughtering dogs. Swish. Without hesitation, she took a step back. Humph. Wang Daoyuan also saw through her intentions. He snorted from his nose and with a mysterious step, his speed suddenly soared. In an instant, he caught up to the white-robed old woman and slapped his palm on her shoulder. Puff! The white-robed old woman spat out a mouthful of blood on the spot. At the same time, Li Changhe also rushed over and stepped on the white-robed old woman's head. Crack! The skull shattered on the spot and blood flowed out. Following closely, accompanied by a painful scream, the white-robed old woman smashed into the ground below like a meteorite. In just one round, the white-robed old woman was seriously injured. Chapter 2433. Wang Daoyuan looked at the white-robed old woman lying on the ground in a sorry state and smiled. Brother Li, do you feel proud and elated? It's more than just elation. After living for so many years, this is the first time I've beaten up these damned animals. Li Changhe laughed. Yes. In the past, in front of dragons, even if they were facing a dragon that was not even a pseudo-god, they had to bow and bend their knees. Over time, this kind of bowing and bending their knees became a matter of course. Beat up dragons? That was even more unthinkable. Therefore, at this moment, the two of them were particularly excited. The feeling of beating up dragons was really too good. Continue. Wang Daoyuan laughed loudly. After so many years of humiliation, there was finally an outlet. Whoosh! The two of them swooped down, full of heroism. You're courting death. The white-robed old woman got up and stared at the two of them coldly. Roar! With a loud dragon roar, the white-robed old woman revealed her true body. It was a white dragon. Its body was more than 10,000 feet long, like a majestic mountain ridge, and the dragon's aura shocked all directions. What's going on? Dragon's aura. Could it be that the messenger of the dragons in the city lord's mansion has revealed her true body? Who are the other two auras? What are they doing? Could it be that someone killed their way into the city lord's mansion and fought with the messenger of the dragons? Although Holy Dragon City was very big, the aura of Li Changhe and the white-robed old woman was also very terrifying. In an instant, it alarmed everyone in the city. Everyone rose into the air and looked at the city lord's mansion from afar, their faces full of surprise. At the same time, three figures flew out from a large hall. These were three middle-aged men, and their auras were unfathomable. The three of them looked in the direction of the herb field, and a cold light flashed in their eyes. Let's go. The leader waved his hand, and the three of them immediately rushed toward the herb field. So what if you revert to your original body? I'll still beat you up. Li Changhe and the white-robed old man laughed, and their hearts were unprecedentedly carefree. Without any pause, divine power surged out and attacked the white dragon. You'll regret it. I swear. The white dragon roared, raised its huge tail, and swung it at the two of them. The two of them immediately raised their fists and punched out. Clang! When the two people's fists collided with the giant tail, the collision actually caused a glaring fire. Two dragon scales on the giant tail shattered on the spot. The white dragon howled in pain, but it did not retreat. It raised its huge tail again and smashed it towards Li Changhe and the other man. I'm going to shatter your dragon scales one by one, and let you have a taste of what it's like to be dead. Wang Daoyuan and the other man laughed sinisterly as they clashed with the white dragon. Clang! Bang! Bang! A series of explosions took place. The terrifying shockwaves from the battle surged in all directions like a tide. The mountains continued to collapse. The earth was also riddled with ditches. Which thief dares to enter my city lord's mansion and cause trouble? Suddenly, accompanied by a loud shout, waves of divine power rushed into the sky. Following closely, a huge barrier appeared and fell with a loud bang. Immediately, the entire back mountain was sealed off by the barrier. The battle fluctuations of Li Changhe and the other man and the white dragon were also blocked by the barrier, and did not affect the palace outside. This voice, the gloomy middle-aged man hid behind Qin Feiyong, looked at the barrier in the sky and exclaimed, "It's the city lord of the Holy Dragon City." So what? Qin Feiyong smiled faintly. Li Changhe and the other man below did not pay attention to it and crazily beat the white dragon. Roar. Screams were incessant. Qin Feiyong looked down at the white dragon and secretly asked, "Fire Lotus, are you ready?" Fire Lotus responded. Qin Feiyong smiled and also retracted his gaze. He looked up at the sky in front of him and saw 3 figures rushing over like lightning. The leader was a middle-aged man in purple, about 1.78 meters tall, wearing a purple crown on his head, extremely majestic. Behind him were 2 men in golden armor. One of them was slightly thin, taller than the middle-aged man in purple by a head. His dark eyes emitted a sharp light, and he seemed to be quite capable. The other man was shorter but very strong. His skin was bronze, and his body contained a terrifying power. Needless to say, the aura of the 3 was ridiculously strong. It's him. It's him. The city lord of the Holy Dragon City. The gloomy middle-aged man stared at the middle-aged man in purple and exclaimed, "He's the city lord." Qin Feiyong nodded and asked, "What about the 2 men in golden armor behind him?" "The tall one is the great commander. That short one is the second commander," the gloomy middle-aged man said. Qin Feiyong smiled and said, "In that case, except for the guards, all the experts of the city lord mansion are here." The gloomy middle-aged man nodded and swallowed his saliva. In the face of so many experts he could still be so calm. He really admired this person's courage. The city lord and the other 2 rushed over. When they saw the white dragon that was covered in wounds, their faces suddenly changed. "Don't be presumptuous. Do you know who she is? She's the messenger of the dragons." The city lord immediately shouted, "Why are you still talking nonsense? Kill them quickly." The white dragon roared. "Yes." The 3 of them responded respectfully. Boom! Their aura was released instantly. The city lord pointed at Qin Feiyong and the gloomy middle-aged man and shouted, "You 2 go catch them. I'll take care of the 2 below." "Yes." The great commander and the second commander nodded and immediately charged toward Qin Feiyong and the other man. The city lord also swooped down and charged toward Li Changhe and the other man. The gloomy middle-aged man looked at the great commander and the second commander and shouted in horror, "Li Bu'er, I don't want to die." "Li Bu'er?" The white dragon was slightly stunned and immediately shouted, "So it's you, you little bastard." Qin Feiyong raised his eyebrows and stared at the gloomy middle-aged man. The gloomy middle-aged man also realized that he had spilled the beans and hurriedly lowered his head in panic. Qin Feiyong looked at the white dragon again and said coldly, "Your mouth is really asking for a beating. Kill him quickly. No, capture him alive. I want to torture him and make him beg for mercy on the ground like a dog." The white dragon roared hysterically. The great commander and the second commander looked at each other and a cruel look appeared in their eyes. "Kill me? It seems that you still don't know what happened in the Dragon God Palace." Qin Feiyong smiled coldly. Swish! Suddenly, Fire Lotus appeared beside Qin Feiyong. But looking at the Fire Lotus at this moment, Qin Feiyong was stunned again. Fire Lotus had actually disguised herself as a middle-aged woman, and her appearance was quite ugly. Fire Lotus smiled and slapped the great commander and the second commander. The 2 of them immediately wailed and flew out like a kite with a broken string. What? The white dragon was shocked. The city lord was also dumbfounded. She sent the great commander and the second commander flying with a slap? How strong did she need to be? Bang! The great commander and the second commander smashed into the ground and a huge pit immediately appeared. The 2 of them lay in the huge pit, bleeding all over and on the verge of death. They had already lost the ability to fight. How is this possible? The city lord looked at this scene with disbelief on his face. Needless to say, the white dragon. His pair of dragon eyes almost popped out. How could there be such a strong person beside him? It's your honor that the young master took a fancy to your herb field. How dare you stop him? Fire Lotus looked at the white dragon and the city lord with contempt. The city lord looked at Qin Feiyang and Fire Lotus in shock and muttered, "Who are you? It doesn't matter who we are. The important thing is, stand there obediently and don't move." Fire Lotus looked down at the herb field in disdain and was stunned. There were actually so many herbs? The city lord didn't dare to move, because the aura emitted by Fire Lotus made him feel desperate. Not to mention the great commander and the second commander. At this moment there was only fear in their hearts. The white dragon was also completely panicked. He didn't expect that there was such a terrifying expert hiding beside this person. However, in contrast, the white dragon was even more miserable. Although they were all prisoners, at least the city lord and the other two weren't beaten. And the white dragon, even if he had given up resisting now, Li Changhe and the other two didn't stop and kept on beating him. The dragon's scales on his body were all shattered. His flesh was badly mangled. His screams were incomparably shrill. "Awesome! You damn beast, you didn't expect that you would have such a day." Wang Daoyuan laughed wildly. During those years of working in the city lord mansion, he had been humiliated by the white dragon. Today he would get it all back. Crack! It was also at this moment. Fire Lotus pointed her finger and the barrier above the herb field immediately shattered. "That's right. She's definitely half-step invincible," the city lord murmured. The panic on his face was even stronger. Half-step invincible. An existence at this level could kill a great perfection 9th heaven realm expert with a wave of her hand. Although there was only a step between a great perfection 9th heaven realm and a half-step invincible, the difference in strength was like heaven and earth. It was no exaggeration to say. Thousands of great perfection 9th heaven realm experts couldn't pose the slightest threat to a half-step invincible. A half-step invincible was an insurmountable chasm, higher than the threshold of any major realm. Fire Lotus ignored the city lord and the others and scanned the herb field, her eyes shining. As the palace lord of the 9th heaven palace, she could be considered experienced and knowledgeable. But the scene in front of her really couldn't calm down. As soon as the barrier shattered, the rich medicinal fragrance, majestic essence qi, and surging energy roared out like angry waves. The essence qi came from the crystal vein. The energy came from the spirit vein. In an instant, the entire back mountain was enveloped in an ocean of essence qi and energy. It was hard to imagine. How many spirit veins and crystal veins were there under this herb field? And the levels of these spirit veins and crystal veins were definitely higher than those in the Black Rock City. If they were all transferred to the Black Tortoise World, the Black Tortoise World would definitely undergo a great change. Chapter 2434. Suddenly, Fire Lotus made her move. Divine power surged out and pounced on the medicine field below. "You're robbing the medicine field right under our noses?" The city lord smiled bitterly. How could a thief be so blatant? But the next moment, a trace of bewilderment crept onto his face. Because Fire Lotus's divine power did not rush towards the medicinal herbs, but poured into the ground below the medicine field. What was she going to do? Could it be suddenly? The city lord's gaze trembled, and a burst of anger rose in his eyes. Looking at Fire Lotus and Qin Feiyang, he roared, "Don't go too far." But the two turned a deaf ear. "Rise!" Fire Lotus shouted in a low voice. The ground at the back of the mountain suddenly trembled violently. Crack! Boom! Following closely, the entire medicine field rose up from the ground. The spirit veins and crystal veins below the medicine field also slowly appeared in front of everyone's eyes. "I really want to take away the crystal veins and spirit veins," the city lord murmured. "So many." Below, Li Changhe and the other two stopped and looked at the crystal veins and spirit veins below the medicine field, their faces full of shock. Those crystal veins and spirit veins were like divine dragons, emitting a dazzling light. Preliminary calculations. There were at least 1,000 spirit veins. There were even more crystal veins, estimated to be more than 2,000. And the lowest level was a first-level divine level spirit vein and crystal vein. For anyone, this was a peerless treasure. We've made a fortune. We've made a fortune, Fire Lotus muttered. With so many divine-level spirit veins and crystal veins, if placed in the 4 major regions, they would definitely be able to slowly build a superforce like the 9th Heaven Palace. And for Qin Feiyang, he would not have to worry about soul stones in this lifetime. Qin Deity, hurry up. Fire Lotus turned to look at Qin Feiyang and smiled. In a moment of excitement, she let it slip. Qin Feiyang did not care, and took the crystal veins, spirit veins, and medicine field into the Black Tortoise realm. It's gone. All these years of savings are gone in an instant. The city lord fell to the ground powerlessly. How could he be so unlucky to meet such fearless people? Wait. Qin Deity. Isn't this person surnamed Li? Suddenly, the city lord looked at Qin Feiyang in surprise. At this time, Qin Feiyang also looked down at the city lord and asked with a smile, "Where is the treasury? You still want to loot the treasury?" The city lord was stunned. "If I were you, I would tell the truth and beg the young master to let me live." Li Changhe turned to look at the city lord and sneered. "It's not wise to go against the young master." Wang Daoyuan added, All of you are helping the tyrant." The city lord glared at the two of them. What a joke. The dragons are arrogant, despotic, and inhumane. Who is helping them? Li Changhe shouted. With a crack, the second commander died on the spot. Everyone looked at the commander in shock. Is this person crazy? He even killed his companion? Only Qin Feiyang looked at the commander thoughtfully. What are you doing? Bai Long was stunned and immediately looked at the commander and shouted. But the commander turned a deaf ear to him. With a plop. He actually knelt on the ground and said respectfully, "Subordinate Zhang Dafei greets the young master." Everyone was stunned again. Young master? He's from the Dragon Slayer Palace. Fire Lotus was slightly startled. She looked at the commander and then looked up at Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang didn't say anything and just looked at the commander. In fact, he had already vaguely guessed the identity of this person before, but he didn't dare to completely believe it. "This is your subordinate's proof." The commander took out a token from his body and handed it to Qin Feiyang respectfully. Qin Feiyang took it in his hand and looked at it carefully. The token was pure white, and there was a divine dragon pattern on it. There was a sharp sword on the divine dragon's body. On the other side was Zhang Dafei's name. This token was exactly the same as Fan Yunzhang's. It was the identity token of the Dragon Slayer Palace. The commander said respectfully, "Young master, if you still don't believe me, you can use the slave seal to control me." Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed and he said indifferently, "I want to use the puppet technique to control you." The commander's expression stiffened and he shook his head. "The puppet technique can read my memory by force. I'm afraid that won't work because there are some things that I can't let you know." Exactly the same as Fan Yunzhang's reaction? Qin Feiyang was stunned. However, he even knew the slave seal and the puppet technique's ability. This person's identity shouldn't be fake. "Here you go." Qin Feiyang threw the token to the commander. "Thank you, young master." The commander grabbed the token and bowed. "Damn it. He's actually from the Dragon Slayer Palace." Bai Long also saw the token and a trace of fierceness flashed in the depths of his eyes. "But the rules can't be broken." Qin Feiyang said again and evolved the slave seal. "What rules?" The commander looked at the slave seal, his face full of suspicion. Chapter 2435. Qin Feiyang frowned and said, "Didn't Fan Yunzhang tell you?" "Fan Yunzhang?" The commander was stunned and asked suspiciously, "Who is Fan Yunzhang?" Qin Feiyang and Fire Lotus looked at each other. They were both from the Dragon Slayer Palace, but they didn't know Fan Yunzhang. Could it be that there was something wrong with this person's identity? "Qin Deity, read his memory," Fire Lotus said in a deep voice. Qin Feiyang nodded. The slave seal dissipated, and the puppet technique appeared. Zhang Dafei's expression changed drastically when he saw the puppet technique. He said in shock, "Young lord, why are you doing this?" "I'm suspecting your identity now," Qin Feiyang said. "Why?" Zhang Dafei's expression froze as he exclaimed. Qin Feiyang said, "Don't resist or you'll die." "No. If you want to use the puppet technique to forcibly read my memory, then I'll die right now. After saying that, Zhang Dafei really raised his arm and slapped the top of his head. This time Qin Feiyang and Fire Lotus were stunned. Looking at Zhang Dafei's determined expression, could it be that they had really misunderstood? Wait a moment. Qin Feiyang waved his hand. Zhang Dafei's arm paused and said, Young lord, I'm really from the Dragon Slayer Palace. Heaven and earth can be my witness. Qin Feiyang raised his eyebrows and said, Then why don't you know Fan Yunzhang? I really don't know Fan Yunzhang. Can you tell me about him first? Zhang Dafei said. He's also from the Dragon Slayer Palace, and he's currently the City Lord of Black Rock City. Qin Feiyang said. What? The City Lord of Black Rock City is actually a spy of the Dragon Slayer Palace. Bai Long was shocked. I see. Zhang Dafei nodded and then said with a bitter smile, Young lord, it seems that Fan Yunzhang didn't tell you the details of the Dragon Slayer Palace. What do you mean? Qin Feiyang frowned. Our dragon-slaying palace is very careful. For example, people like Fan Yunzhang and I who have been lurking around the dragons are all classified secrets of the dragon-slaying palace. In other words, we don't even know of each other's existence. The only one who knows is our superior, the Divine General. Zhang Dafei said. You mean you don't know about Fan Yunzhang's existence and Fan Yunzhang doesn't know about you? Qin Feiyang frowned. Yes. Actually, there are people from our Dragon Slayer Palace in every city's City Lord Mansion, but other than the Divine General we don't know each other. Even if we stand face to face, we don't know that the other party is our companion. This is to prevent anyone from being exposed and not implicate others, Zhang Dafei explained. I see. Qin Feiyang suddenly understood. After pondering for a while he said, Wait a moment. I'll find Fan Yunzhang to confirm it. Then he took out the image crystal. After a while, Fan Yunzhang's shadow appeared. When Qin Feiyang asked Fan Yunzhang, there was indeed such a thing. Moreover, Fan Yunzhang didn't know Zhang Dafei either. Fire Lotus transmitted her voice, Qin Dage, you still can't be careless. Qin Feiyang secretly replied and looked at Zhang Dafei. I'll believe you for now. As for my rules, you must use the slavery seal to control me. Okay. Zhang Dafei nodded without hesitation. Qin Feiyang once again formed the slavery seal and entered Zhang Dafei's head. Very soon, the slavery seal was completed. Although I believe you for the time being, you have to find evidence that can convince me within 3 days. Otherwise, I will mercilessly erase your soul. Qin Feiyang said. Okay. Zhang Dafei nodded respectfully. However, he felt a little helpless in his heart. He had long heard that this young lord was suspicious and cautious. In the end it was true. However, this was also a good thing. Because only by being cautious enough could one survive under the eyes of the dragons. And now the gloomy middle-aged man finally understood. The real name of the person in front of him was Qin Feiyang, and he had a high status in the dragon-slaying palace. Alright. It just so happens that I'm too lazy to run, so I'll have to trouble you to take a trip and move all the treasures here. Qin Feiyang looked at Zhang Dafei and said. You can't say that it's troublesome, this is what I should do. Zhang Dafei hurriedly said. Then turned around and flew in the direction he came from without looking back. Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed and he said in a low voice, Girl, follow him and take a look. Fire Lotus smiled and turned into a stream of light, following behind without anyone noticing. Li Changhe glanced at Fire Lotus and retracted his gaze. He pointed at the white dragon and looked at Qin Feiyang, asking, Young master, how should we deal with this evil beast? Didn't young master say that if we want to carry out the dragon hunting plan, of course we have to keep it alive? Wang Daoyuan smiled. What? The dragon hunting plan? The white dragon's eyes trembled. It sounded like it was disadvantageous to the dragons. Qin Feiyang chuckled and looked at Wang Daoyuan saying, Old Wang, do you think it's worthy of staying in the Black Tortoise realm? Wang Daoyuan was stunned and his eyes were filled with killing intent. He smiled and said, I understand. What do you want? Let me tell you, don't be too arrogant. Qin Feiyang, even your ancestor wouldn't dare to be so presumptuous. You'd better know what's good for you. The white dragon immediately roared in panic when it heard that. What right do you have to talk about my ancestor? I'm afraid your legs will go weak when you see my ancestor. Qin Feiyang smiled disdainfully. The white dragon looked around as it retreated, looking extremely panicked. It was looking for a way out, but the entire back mountain was sealed by Fire Lotus's divine power, and there was no way to escape. What should it do? Threats were useless. It couldn't beat it. Was it really going to die here? It didn't want to. Qin Feiyang, I beg you, can you be magnanimous and let me go? I'll be your slave. I'll apologize to you. I was blind to cause trouble in the plains. The white dragon, who was gradually losing hope, lay on the ground again, begging and shivering. If there was a medicine for regret in this world, it would definitely buy it at all costs. Of all the people it could provoke, it had to provoke this fiend? I'm sorry, you don't even have the qualifications to be my slave. After Qin Feiyang finished speaking, he nodded at Li Changhe and Li Changhe. The two understood and immediately released their aura, attacking the white dragon. Bastard, are you forcing me? I'll fight it out with you. The white dragon suddenly roared and a destructive aura rushed out of its body. Self-destruct. The gloomy middle-aged man's expression changed. Swish. At this moment, Fire Lotus returned and destroyed the white dragon's sea of qi with a finger. Li Changhe and Li Changhe immediately rushed over. Roar roar. Accompanied by endless miserable howls, the white dragon was beaten to death. Qin Feiyang glanced at the white dragon, then looked at Fire Lotus and asked, how is it? Nothing unusual. Fire Lotus shook her head. Whoosh. Before her voice died away, Zhang Dafei flew over and landed in front of Qin Feiyang, respectfully handing over a Qinkuan bag. Qin Feiyang opened it and saw that it was full of Qinkuan rings and Qinkuan bags. Without a doubt, the treasures in the treasury were all in these Qinkuan rings and Qinkuan bags. Take it. Qin Feiyang handed the Qinkuan bag to Fire Lotus. Zhang Dafei glanced at the gloomy middle-aged man, then at Li Changhe and Li Changhe, and asked suspiciously, young lord, who are they? Wang Daoyuan held the white dragon's body and flew over, smiling, Commander, don't you know them? You. Zhang Dafei looked at him suspiciously. Wang Daoyuan took a face-restoring pill and quickly recovered his true appearance. Wang Daoyuan. So it's you. Zhang Dafei looked at Wang Daoyuan in astonishment. Surprised. I, a person who wants to enter the Dragon God Palace, has become the young lord's subordinate. Wang Daoyuan laughed. It is indeed unexpected. Zhang Dafei nodded. This is Li Changhe, also planning to enter the Dragon God Palace, but now he is also following the young lord. Wang Daoyuan pointed at Li Changhe and introduced him. Nice to meet you. The two of them cupped their hands and greeted. As for him, Wang Daoyuan looked at the gloomy middle-aged man, frowned and looked at Qin Feiyang. Young lord, this person already knows everything about us, shouldn't we? With that, Wang Daoyuan made a gesture of cutting his throat. The gloomy middle-aged man was shocked and quickly knelt in the air, shouting, Young lord, I am also willing to follow you. Zhang Dafei glanced at the gloomy middle-aged man, then looked at Wang Daoyuan. So, he is not one of us? No. Wang Daoyuan shook his head and briefly explained the situation. Hearing this, Zhang Dafei's eyes suddenly surged with killing intent, and he slammed his palm towards the gloomy middle-aged man. What are you doing? Qin Feiyang quickly stopped him. Zhang Dafei said, Young lord, this person cannot be left alive. Qin Feiyang was speechless. Then if you kill him, how am I going to return to the Dragon God Palace? Don't you have the gate of time and space? You can just teleport there directly. Zhang Dafei said, You even know about the gate of time and space? Qin Feiyang was stunned. Although the Princess of Dragons had seen the gate of time and space, she did not know its name. In other words, this person's identity should not be fake. Opening the gate of time and space will cause a lot of movement on both sides, so it can't be used. Fire Lotus looked at Zhang Dafei and said, Is that so? Zhang Dafei retracted his big hand and looked at the gloomy middle-aged man who was kneeling in the air and trembling. Then he looked at Qin Feiyang and asked, Then this person, what do you plan to do with him? I still need his help in the future, so I definitely can't kill him. Moreover, he is controlled by the fate contract, so I can't use the seal of slavery and the puppet technique to control him again. Qin Feiyang pondered for a moment, looked at the gloomy middle-aged man and said indifferently, From now on, you will follow me closely. If you dare to run out of my sight, then don't blame me for being impolite. Because this was the only way he could be at ease. Yes, yes, yes. Don't worry, I will be honest. The gloomy middle-aged man nodded repeatedly and thanked him repeatedly. At least he was able to keep his life. Get up, Qin Feiyang said. The gloomy middle-aged man got up and stood obediently at the side like a little lamb. He was unprecedentedly obedient. Then we call it a day? Qin Feiyang looked around and looked at Fire Lotus. What else? Don't tell me you still want to stay for dinner? Fire Lotus covered her mouth and laughed. Qin Feiyang smiled and took out an altar. Young lord, wait a moment. Zhang Dafei hurriedly said. Qin Feiyang turned his head and looked at him suspiciously. Young lord, since you have met Fan Yunzhang, you should know the mission given to you by the higher-ups. Zhang Dafei said. Chapter 2436. Qin Feiyang paused and said helplessly, I really don't know about the mission to enter the Dragon God's palace. If you want to know, tell me now. No. That's not what I'm talking about. Zhang Dafei waved his hand. Then what is it? Qin Feiyang was confused. Zhang Dafei said, the plan to replace the city lord. Get lost. Hearing this, Qin Feiyang immediately activated the teleportation altar. Zhang Dafei was startled and quickly said, Young lord, this is your duty. Duty? I'm not that free. After Qin Feiyang finished speaking, he sent Fire Lotus and Li Changhe to the castle and then stepped onto the altar with the gloomy middle-aged man. The barrier that sealed the back mountain also disappeared. Young lord. Zhang Dafei shouted anxiously. I've already told Fan Yunzhang about this. Don't come to me. Whoever wants to go can go. Qin Feiyang said coldly and disappeared without a trace. How did this happen? Zhang Dafei stood in the void, stunned. This was completely different from what he had imagined. Whoosh! At this moment, the sound of something breaking through the air could be heard. Zhang Dafei frowned and smashed his Sea of Qi with one palm. He then lay down next to the second commander's body. How did this happen? City Lord. Senior Commander? Second Commander. 10 middle-aged men and women flew over and glanced at the devastated land and the 3 city lords. They were a little confused. Quick, help me. Zhang Dafei raised his arm and looked at the 10 people and called out weakly. The senior commander is not dead. Quick. The 10 people immediately flew down and stuffed the divine life pills and spiritual sea pills into Zhang Dafei's mouth. Senior commander, what's going on? Why are the city lord and second commander dead? Where's the herb field? Why is it gone? The 10 people asked in surprise. They were the 10 commanders of the city lord's mansion. They had the cultivation of initial 9 heavens state. They were killed by a single person. The herb farm and the treasure vault were also plundered by that person. The messenger of the dragons was also killed by him. It's too scary. His strength has already surpassed the 9 heavens realm. Zhang Dafei said with a terrified expression. What? Beyond the 9 heavens realm? Isn't that a supreme expert? Why would an utmost powerful being come here to cause a ruckus in the city lord's mansion? Moreover, even if it's an ultimate powerhouse, he wouldn't dare to kill a messenger of the dragons. Could it be that they're from the dragon-slaying palace? The 10 of them were incomparably shocked. I wonder if he's from the dragon-slaying palace? But I'm sure that his background is not simple. One of you, quickly go find the Dragon God Palace Master and report this matter to him. Zhang Dafei said in a deep voice. I'll go. One of the guard commanders responded and immediately activated an altar. Hong Yi laughed out loud and the shadow disappeared. Chao Duan also put away the image crystal, looked at Qin Feiyang and asked, Young brother Li, what do you think? Qin Feiyang sighed. If the dragons really come, then I won't be able to escape. Chao Duan nodded. Killing the island master and everyone in the assessment was not a small matter. Qin Feiyang thought for a while and smiled. We'll deal with it as it comes. That's easy. Chao Duan muttered. If it was him, he would have already run away. How would he dare to stay in the Dragon God Hall? Li Feng, the commander of the guards of the Holy Dragon City Lord Mansion, has an important matter to discuss with the Hall Master of the Dragon God Hall. But at this moment, a loud roar could be heard. Qin Feiyang was startled. I've heard of this Li Fang. He's one of the 10 commanders of the guards, and he's at the 9th heaven realm. He must be here to report to the hall master of the Dragon God Hall about the robbery of the City Lord Mansion, Chao Diyuan said. Qin Feiyang frowned. Shouldn't this kind of thing be reported directly to the dragons? Why did he come to the Dragon God Hall? Don't you know? The hall master of the Dragon God Hall is not only in charge of the Dragon God Hall, but all the cities in the north are also under his jurisdiction, Chao Diyuan said. There's such a thing? Qin Feiyang was startled. Seems that you really don't know. Simply put, the Dragon God Hall is the manager of our north. As for the dragon's homeland is not in our north. Therefore, no matter what happens in the cities, they all come to the Dragon God Hall master, Chao Diyuan explained. I see. Qin Feiyang nodded and frowned. You mean the dragon's homeland is not in our north? Yes. Chao Diyuan nodded. Then where is their base camp? Qin Feiyang was puzzled. On the Divine Dragon Island, Chao Diyuan said. Divine Dragon Island? Qin Feiyang was slightly stunned. Why did another unfamiliar place pop up? Yes. Our divine land is divided into the north, west, south, and east. Outside are the North Sea, West Sea, South Sea, and East Sea. Inside, there's also the Inland Sea. The Divine Dragon Island is in the Inland Sea. It means that the Divine Dragon Island is in the center of Divine Land, Chao Diyuan said. I see. Qin Feiyang nodded. It's said that the Divine Dragon Island is very big. All the dragons live on the Divine Dragon Island, and humans are forbidden to enter. But there's a special case. It's the Dragon God Palace. As long as you cultivate to the half-step imperishable realm in the Dragon God Palace, you can enter the Divine Dragon Island. This is also one of the reasons why everyone enters the Dragon God Palace. I heard that the resources and cultivation environment of the Divine Dragon Island are better than anywhere else. It even has the inheritance of the power of law, Chao Diyuan said. What? The inheritance of the power of law. Qin Feiyang's face suddenly showed a trace of surprise. Chao Diyuan said with a flattering smile, I just heard about it. Whether it's true or not, you have to ask those insiders. Qin Feiyang's eyes flickered. If the Divine Dragon Island really had the inheritance of the power of law, then this place was really tempting. Phew. Exhaling a long breath, Qin Feiyang shook his head and said, It seems that the dragon hunt plan has to be postponed. What do you mean? Chao Diyuan was suspicious. To be honest, I'm not very interested in a divine dragon like the Lord of the Dragon God Palace. What I'm interested in are the young dragons, Qin Feiyang said with a smile. Chao Diyuan's face twitched and said, The young dragons are all at the Divine Dragon Island. So after entering the Divine Dragon Island, we will carry out the dragon hunt plan. Qin Feiyang said, You still want to go to the Divine Dragon Island? When Chao Diyuan heard this, his scalp couldn't help but go numb. How daring was this person? The Divine Dragon Island was the nest of the dragons. Was it a place where humans could set foot? Let's go. I'll take you to a magical place. Qin Feiyang waved his hand and brought Chao Diyuan to the castle. At the entrance and exit square. What? The Holy Dragon City's envoy was killed. The herb field and the treasury were looted? A black-clothed man stood in front of the stone gate and looked at the guard commander Li Fang outside with a face full of shock. It was the new island master of the first island. Li Fang nodded. Go back and tell the great commander to temporarily block this news to avoid causing a commotion, the black-clothed man said in a deep voice. Li Fang asked, Blocking the news is a small matter, but how should we deal with this matter? This matter will have to be decided by the Lord of the Temple. Go back and wait for the news, the black-clothed man said. Yes. Li Fang responded respectfully, turned around, opened the altar and left. What's going on? There's actually someone who dares to loot the Holy Dragon City's City Lord Mansion. The black-clothed man frowned and was about to open the altar and leave, but at this moment, a terrifying pressure suddenly descended. Chapter 24:37. The black-clothed man was shocked. He turned to look at the entrance and saw a white figure appear out of thin air. From the figure, he could tell that it was a woman. Her entire body was shrouded in a holy radiance, as if an empress had descended. No one dared to blaspheme her. Behind the woman stood an old man in white. The old man had white hair and a white beard. His hands were behind his back, and his expression was indifferent. He had an ethereal aura that transcended all things. "Greetings, Lord Dragon Sovereign." The black-clothed man hurriedly knelt on the ground and prostrated himself. "That's right. The woman was Dragon Sovereign." Dragon Sovereign responded coldly and stepped through the stone door with the old man. He landed on the square and said, "Tell the Dragon God Hall Master to come see me immediately." "Yes." The black-clothed man nodded and immediately sent a voice transmission to the Dragon God Hall Master. When the Dragon God Hall Master learned that Dragon Sovereign had personally come, he immediately activated the altar and rushed to the square without stopping. "Greetings, Lord Dragon Sovereign." When he arrived at the square, he immediately knelt on the ground and greeted respectfully. Dragon Sovereign sized up the Dragon God Hall Master for a while and snorted coldly. "Your physical body was really destroyed. You're really promising." "I'm incompetent. Please forgive me, Lord Dragon Sovereign." The Dragon God Hall Master's body trembled as he hurriedly cried out. Dragon Sovereign asked, "Where is the young man now?" "He's sleeping in the law enforcement hall." The Dragon God Hall Master said. "Sleeping?" The white-haired old man standing behind Dragon Sovereign was slightly stunned. He looked at Dragon Sovereign and smiled. "He's still in the mood to sleep. It can be seen that this person is very confident." Dragon Sovereign asked, "Then in your opinion, how should we solve this?" "I dare not speak nonsense." The white-haired old man shook his head. When facing Dragon Sovereign, his expression was not like the Dragon God Hall Master's, who was full of reverence for Dragon Sovereign. He appeared to be indifferent. The black-clothed man and the Dragon God Hall Master looked at the white-haired old man with deep fear in their eyes. The black-clothed man bowed. "Hall Master Dragon Sovereign Elder Yi, just now something happened." "What?" The Dragon God Temple Master looked at him suspiciously. The Holy Dragon City's envoy, the City Lord, and the second commander were all killed. The herb fields and treasury were also plundered. The black-clothed man said, "What?" The Dragon God Palace Lord's expression changed. "Who would be so bold?" According to the guard commander Li Feng, he's a half-step undying expert. The man in black said, "Half-step undying?" The Dragon God Temple Master was shocked. Qin Feiyang looked at Fire Lotus and said, "Those medicinal herbs, crystal vein, spirit vein and treasures, I'll leave them to you. You don't have to worry about these things." Fire Lotus said with a smile. Qin Feiyang nodded with a smile, turned and entered the cultivation room, sat in front of the desk and fell into deep thought. The youth's confidence at the square didn't seem to be fake. If the youth really had the strength to fight against Long Zun, then Long Zun's attention might fall on the youth alone, and automatically ignore him. But would it really be like this? Long Zun was the strongest person in the ancient world, and even the ancestor had to retreat. The youth's means were indeed heaven-defying, but would he be on the same level as Long Zun? It seemed that he couldn't place all his hopes on the youth, but now what could he use to fight against Long Zun? Apart from the sealed ancient castle, Fire Lotus, Hui and Fu Tu were the strongest at the moment. But, with their strength it was far from enough. If Long Zun really came looking for him, how was he going to resolve this calamity? "Big brother." At this time, Big Black Wolf walked in. "What's the matter?" Qin Feiyang was slightly taken aback, raising his head and looking at it suspiciously. "When I woke up previously, Big Sister told me what happened at that time, and I implicated you. Otherwise, you wouldn't be so passive now." Big Black Wolf blamed himself. "You even risked your life to stand in front of me. How could I be indifferent? Let's talk about it later. Do you think that without these things the first island master would let us go? He won't." At that time in the square, our attitude towards the Dragon God Palace Master had already announced our death sentence. Qin Feiyang said. Big Black Wolf frowned and said, "You mean the Dragon God Palace Master will kill us sooner or later?" "Definitely. If you were him, would you tolerate two small fries offending you?" Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. "Of course not. I will definitely find an opportunity to teach him a lesson." Big Black Wolf said without hesitation. That's right. So this matter has nothing to do with you. No need to blame yourself, Qin Feiyang said. After hearing your words, this emperor's heart feels much better. The Big Black Wolf chuckled. Qin Feiyang shook his head and laughed. Frankly speaking, when he saw Big Black Wolf risking his life to stand in front of him, he was really touched. He didn't expect this guy to be so loyal. According to his original understanding of Big Black Wolf, he would definitely escape alone when encountering such a crisis. It seemed that there were times when he made a mistake. That's one thing, but we have to think of a way to deal with this. Although the young man is powerful, he's not on our side, Big Black Wolf said. I'm thinking about this as well. As Qin Feiyang spoke, his expression suddenly froze. What's wrong? Big Black Wolf looked at him suspiciously. Qin Feiyang lightly waved his hand, and a palm-sized fire lotus and a 1-meter-long battle sword appeared in front of him, floating in the void. What's this? Big Black Wolf was puzzled. These are my battle souls. I have 3 great battle souls. The purple gold dragon soul, the crimson sword soul, and the 9-leaf fire lotus. These are the crimson sword soul and the 9-leaf fire lotus, Qin Feiyang said. Big Black Wolf studied the crimson sword soul and the 9-leaf fire lotus. He frowned and said, they don't look strong. Why did you summon them? Qin Feiyang was slightly taken aback. He asked, you don't think they're strong as well? Of course. Judging by their auras, I can tell they're just ordinary battle souls, Big Black Wolf said. Qin Feiyang shook his head and smiled. He caressed the crimson sword soul and the 9-leaf fire lotus and said, I used to be like you. I didn't think they were strong, but, speaking of which, Qin Feiyang seemed to be reminiscing. But what? Big Black Wolf asked. Back at the divine site, I encountered a golden small beast and an ice dragon. Both of them should be stronger than the revered dragons, right? That's because they can easily suppress heaven-defying artifacts. Before Qin Feiyang could finish speaking, Big Black Wolf's eyes widened. He exclaimed in shock, suppress heaven-defying artifacts? That's right. Qin Feiyang nodded. My goodness. How terrifying are they, then? Big Black Wolf was shocked. I don't know how terrifying they are, but I do know that they seem to be friends of the Creator, Qin Feiyang said. What's that? The Creator's friends? Big Black Wolf's eyes trembled. Why did it sound more terrifying? Even the Creator was involved. It was hard to imagine what Qin Feiyang had experienced in the past. At that time, the ice dragon attacked me. I thought I was dead for sure. However, at that moment they came out. After Qin Feiyang finished speaking, he looked at the 2 war souls again. His eyes were filled with gratitude. That time, if it were not for the 2 war souls' protection, he would have died. And then, Big Black Wolf's curiosity was piqued. Sometimes you're smart, but why are you so stupid at other times? It's not hard to imagine that they protected me. Otherwise, why would I be sitting here talking to you now? Qin Feiyang was speechless. Big Black Wolf smiled sheepishly and looked at the 2 war souls again. Were they really that powerful? How could they tell? They were very ordinary. If these words came from someone else, it would not believe them even if it was beaten to death. However, since Qin Feiyang said it, it had to be true. Rumble. This time, an ear-splitting loud noise suddenly sounded. Following closely, the entire Dragon God Palace trembled violently. The mountains and the earth on the various islands were shaking violently. Chapter 2438. What's going on? Big Black Wolf was shocked. Qin Feiyang also stood up. Did the young man and Long Zun fight? Let's go. Qin Feiyang grabbed Big Black Wolf and appeared in the cave. When they ran out of the cave and stood in the sky above the valley, they found that the surrounding void was already filled with people. Everyone's eyes were looking at the depths of the Dragon God Palace. The sound of the battle really came from there. Big Black Wolf said, if he really makes a move, what will the result be? Who knows? Qin Feiyang stared at the depths of the Dragon God Palace. The distance was too far and he couldn't see anything. He could only hear the rolling sounds of battle. Woo-woo. Gradually, gusts of wind swept over like a Category 12 typhoon. Immediately after, a wave of battle surged over like a torrent. They are approaching here? Someone was surprised. I don't think so. Because the speed of the sound is fast, it reached here first. And the battle waves are slower, so it's only now. But isn't this battle a little too frightening? Everyone's face was full of shock. Under this fluctuation, they felt as insignificant as ants. Qin Feiyong and Big Black Wolf also had the same feeling. Should we go and take a look? Someone suggested. I want to, but we are not qualified to go to other islands. Someone said unwillingly. All of you stay here obediently and don't move. That is not something you are qualified to join in the fun. The black-clothed man suddenly appeared and shouted sternly, "This is too much. You actually said that we are not even qualified to join in the fun. There should be a limit to humiliating people." Someone complained in a low voice. The black-clothed man glanced at everyone, and his gaze suddenly fell on Qin Feiyong and Big Black Wolf. His injuries have healed so quickly? Looking at the lively Big Black Wolf, a hint of surprise flashed in the black-clothed man's eyes. Immediately after, the black-clothed man flew towards the man and wolf with a cold light in his eyes. Big Black Wolf looked at the black-clothed man and said, "He is the new island master? Yes. This person is a bit shrewd. Be careful." Qin Feiyong thought. Haven't you already seen through his thoughts? What are you afraid of? The Big Black Wolf sneered. There's no harm in being careful. Qin Feiyong said. Whoosh! The black-clothed man landed beside Qin Feiyong and said with a smile, "Li Buer. Who do you think will lose in the end? Lord Dragon Sovereign or your friend? I don't dare to make wild guesses. Furthermore, I'm not very familiar with that young man, so I don't know how strong he is." Qin Feiyong smiled faintly. The man in black said, "You're not familiar with him. Will he help you?" Qin Feiyong said with a smile, "Maybe he's a warm-hearted person who can't bear to see others bully others." The man in black frowned and said, "Are you saying that we, the dragons, are taking advantage of our power to bully others? I wouldn't dare, I wouldn't dare." Qin Feiyong hurriedly waved his hand and said, "You dragons are so strong. Who would dare to say anything about you? Didn't you just kill the previous island master?" The man in black sneered. Qin Feiyong said, "But I can't just stand there and not fight back, right?" "That's true. But sometimes not fighting back is wiser than attacking. Because if you don't fight back, you might be able to keep your life." The man in black smiled. The Big Black Wolf was stunned and laughed. "You're starting to threaten me. Looks like you can't keep up the act anymore." The man in black's expression froze. The Big Black Wolf sneered. "People who think they're smart are actually the stupidest. What did you say?" The man in black's eyes darkened. "It's not wrong. You came to me and said that you wanted to get along with me peacefully. Wasn't it to calm me down and wait for Long Zun to arrive? Now that Long Zun is here, there's no need to pretend anymore." Qin Feiyong said indifferently. The man in black was stunned. To think that Su Zimo saw through it and laughed. "You've truly made me see you in a different light. I don't feel honored that you've made me see you in a different light. I only feel that it's a humiliation." Qin Feiyong smiled faintly. "You," the man in black's eyes shone with a shocking killing intent. "If you want to die as well, you can do it." After saying that, Qin Feiyong ignored the man in black and looked into the depths. "Continue being arrogant. The moment that person dies, it'll be the time of your death as well." The black-robed man sneered inwardly. He didn't want to embarrass himself any further and looked into the depths. Something's not right. Qin Feiyong suddenly raised his brow. "What's wrong?" The Big Black Wolf was bewildered. Qin Feiyong sent a voice transmission. "The one fighting with the young man is not Long Zun." "Not Long Zun?" The Big Black Wolf was stunned. "I've met Long Zun more than once. I'm quite familiar with her aura. There's no aura of hers in the battle." Qin Feiyong thought to himself. There were two different auras in the battle. One of them was the aura of the young man. The other aura was quite unfamiliar. The Big Black Wolf frowned and said in surprise, "Could it be the ancestral dragon?" "Not really." Qin Feiyong shook his head. Back in the galaxy, he had seen the dragons of the ancestral dragon. But this aura was completely different. If it wasn't Long Zun or the ancestral dragon, then who could it be? Judging from the aura, this person's strength was definitely not lower than the ancestral dragon. To think that the dragon clan was hiding such a terrifying supreme expert. Qin Feiyang's mood suddenly became heavy. The more he understood the dragons, the more he felt that dragons were terrifying. About 10 breaths later, the battle, the storm, and the sound gradually dissipated. Is it over? This is too fast. The big black wolf was startled. For such an expert, without 3 days and 3 nights, how could the victor be decided? Let's go. Qin Feiyang retracted his gaze and turned to fly back to the cave. Don't be arrogant. Otherwise you won't even know how you died. The big black wolf grinned at the black-clothed man and chased after Qin Feiyang. Courting death. The black-clothed man clenched his fists. He wanted to make a move, but he didn't have the courage. Because he was alone now. If Qin Feiyang killed him, Long Zun and the Dragon God Palace Lord wouldn't be able to save him in time. Just you wait. Soon it will be your end. Inside the cave. Big brother, what's the meaning of this Long Zun? Why didn't he make a move? The big black wolf was suspicious. How would I know? Let's go find Chowdo. Qin Feiyang brought the big black wolf into the castle. In the hall, Li Changhe and Wang Daoyuan were sorting out the treasures looted from the city lord's mansion. They didn't seem to be very worried. But Chao Dun, who was at the side, was frightened. Where's Fire Lotus? Qin Feiyang glanced at the hall and asked Li Changhe and Wang Daoyuan. Li Changhe laughed hoarsely. Miss Fire Lotus is outside in the medicine field. Qin Feiyang nodded and looked at Chao Dun. I don't know, what are you afraid of? Long Zun is here in person, how can I not be afraid? Chao Dun felt wronged. Long Zun was the empress of the divine continent. Who wouldn't tremble in fear? Only these fearless people in front of him could be so calm. Enough. Send a message to Hong Yi and ask him about the situation, Qin Feiyang said. Let me calm down first. Chao Dun took a deep breath to calm the fear in his heart. A moment later, he relaxed a little, walked to a corner, and took out the image crystal. Buzz. After a long time, Hong Yi's virtual image appeared. As soon as he appeared, Hong Yi said fiercely, brother, you didn't see how exciting the battle was just now. Chao Dun glanced at Qin Feiyang and smiled at Hong Yi. I was just about to ask about this. You don't know, that young man is too powerful. Old Yi, do you know? Hong Yi asked. Old Yi? Chao Dun was stunned. Yi Zhong, the one who created the Dragon God Palace. He's also the Grand Hall Master of the Dragon God Palace, Hong Yi said. So it's him. Chao Dun suddenly realized and said in surprise. He's here too. Yes. He was fighting with the young man just now. Yi Zhong's strength is needless to say. Even the ancestral dragons may not be his match without a heaven-defying artifact. But that young man's strength is actually on par with Yi Zhong's. Don't you think he's powerful? Hong Yi said in shock. It can't be. Chao Dun was also shocked. Hong Yi said unhappily, I saw it with my own eyes just now. How can it be fake? What about Long Zun? Chao Dun asked. Long Zun didn't make a move. And it's only a clone, Hong Yi said. Chao Dun asked suspiciously. Then how did they settle it? I don't know about that. After the battle, the dragons, Old Yi, the young man, and our Grand Hall Master went to the meeting hall. We're not qualified to enter. Hong Yi shook his head. Chao Dun said with a smile, all right, let's have a good gathering when we're free. Okay. Hong Yi nodded. Chao Dun turned off the image crystal and looked at Qin Feiyang. You've heard it. I don't need to say more. Yi Zhong. Grand Hall Master? Qin Feiyang frowned and looked at Chao Dun. Why is there a Grand Hall Master? It's a long story. I'll just say it briefly. It's not only the north that has a Dragon God Palace. There's also a Dragon God Palace in the west, south, and east. And these 4 Dragon God Palaces were all founded by Yi Zhong. As the founder, and with such a strong strength, it's naturally impossible for him to do everything by himself. So, he arranged a Grand Hall Master for each of the 4 Dragon God Palaces. Usually, the affairs of the Dragon God Palaces are managed by the Grand Hall Masters. And Yi Zhong naturally became the Grand Hall Master, and basically didn't care about anything. I've been in the Dragon God Palace for more than 10,000 years. This is the first time I've seen him come to the Dragon God Palace. In the past, I've only heard of his name. Chao Dun said. Qin Feiyang nodded in realization. This Yizhong has a very high status among the dragons. It's said that even the great ancestral dragons can't compare to him. The revered dragon thinks highly of him. He usually lives on the Divine Dragon Island. The most important thing is that he's not a divine dragon, but a human. Chao Diyuan said. What? He's actually a human. Big Black Wolf exclaimed. Li Changhe stood up and looked at Big Black Wolf. We've also heard rumors about him. He's indeed a human. There's also a rumor that he's not controlled by the revered dragon and joined the dragons willingly. Wang Daoyuan added. It was not worth getting angry with such an ignorant person. Chao Diyuan timidly glanced at the Big Black Wolf, then looked at Qin Feiyang and asked, Then what do we do now? Wait, Qin Feiyang said. Wait for what? Chao Diyuan was puzzled. Wait for news. After Qin Feiyang finished speaking, he looked at the Big Black Wolf and said, Go out for a walk. If you have any news, come back and tell me immediately. However, don't go too far. If anything happens, I won't be able to save you in time. It's just asking for information. Can you stop me? The Big Black Wolf laughed disdainfully, then ran out like a wisp of smoke. Qin Feiyang summoned his Crimson Sword Soul and the Nine-Leaf Fire Lotus again. He lowered his head and pondered. 2 war souls? Alas, they're just ordinary war souls. They're useless. Chao Diyuan was shocked when he saw the 2 war souls. Then, he shook his head with a hint of disdain in his eyes. Time passed silently. An hour later, the Big Black Wolf ran into the cave abode in a hurry. What's wrong? Qin Feiyang looked at it. The Big Black Wolf panted and said, I have good news and bad news. Which one do you want to hear first? Qin Feiyang was taken aback. He said, Let's hear the good news first then. The good news is that Long Zun's clone has left. As for us, nobody mentioned it. I reckon Long Zun didn't think much of it. The Big Black Wolf said. Whoosh! Qin Feiyang's heart, which had been hanging in the air, finally calmed down. Chao Diyuan heaved a sigh of relief. He looked at the Big Black Wolf and asked, What's the bad news? The Big Black Wolf glanced at him indifferently. Then it looked at Qin Feiyang and said, The bad news is that Yizhong stayed behind in the Dragon God Temple. That's nothing. After all, he's the Grand Temple Master of the Dragon God Temple. Chao Diyuan said. Shut up. The Big Black Wolf glared at him. Chao Diyuan smiled bitterly. However, at the same time, Qin Feiyang frowned again. What was Yizhong doing in the Dragon God Temple? If it was just staying in the Dragon God Temple, it wouldn't be a big deal. But the problem is that he actually let the original Temple Master of the Dragon God Temple go to Holy Dragon City. The Big Black Wolf said, What? Let the Temple Master go to Holy Dragon City? Then who will manage the affairs of the Dragon God Temple? Chao Diyuan was surprised. Qin Feiyang said, Is there a need to think about it? Yizhong will manage it personally. Chao Diyuan shook his head. That's impossible. He's the Grand Temple Master. How can he manage these trivial matters? But isn't the truth already in front of us? The Dragon God Temple Master went to Holy Dragon City. All the affairs of the Dragon God Temple naturally fall on Yizhong's head. The Big Black Wolf said. Chao Diyuan was puzzled. Why would he do that? Isn't it troublesome? The Big Black Wolf gnashed its teeth and roared, Can you shut up? I'm annoyed when I hear you talk. Okay. Chao Diyuan nodded repeatedly. The Big Black Wolf took a deep breath and looked at Qin Feiyang. Big brother, what do you think? Yizhong stayed in the Dragon God Temple in the north. I think on one hand it's to keep an eye on the young man. After all, the young man's methods are too heaven-defying. Someone has to keep an eye on him. On the other hand, he should be coming for me. Qin Feiyang said. The Big Black Wolf grinned and said, That's what I think too. Then tell me about it. Qin Feiyang looked at him curiously. Dragon's princess can't catch you after so long. Long Zun will definitely be anxious. Then what should we do? She can't just go herself and waste time, can she? Moreover, if she personally comes to deal with a descendant of Qin Batian, she won't be able to keep her face, because others will laugh at her behind her back. Yizhong, on the other hand, is strong and resourceful. He's definitely smart. Naturally, Yi Zhong is the best candidate. The big black wolf said. Amazing. I really didn't expect you to be so smart. Qin Feiyong smiled. The big black wolf's words were really beyond his expectations. Child's play. The big black wolf smiled proudly. Qin Feiyong said, It seems that now we not only have to guard against princess dragons, but also Yi Zhong. The big black wolf said, But for now there won't be any danger. Qin Feiyong nodded. Because of the young man, whether it was the people of the first island or the black-clothed man, they did not dare to attack him. When he had time, he had to thank this person properly because he saved him a lot of trouble. Qin Feiyong smiled. Since the crisis is over, let's go cultivate. What about me? Chao Dayuan could not help but ask hurriedly. Qin Feiyong smiled faintly and led the big black wolf and Chao Dayuan into the castle. Chao Dayuan's nervous mood finally relaxed. Qin Feiyong said, Go and help. Okay. Chao Dayuan nodded and immediately ran to Li Changhe's side to help tidy up the treasures. There's a cultivation room upstairs. After tidying it up, you guys can also go and cultivate. As for the soul stone, you can take it from the fire lotus. Qin Feiyong looked at Li Changhe and said with a smile, Thank you, young master. When the two heard this, they were overjoyed and quickly got up to thank him. Why did they enter the Dragon God Palace? It was to get better and more resources. However, even if they entered the Dragon God Palace, the resources were limited. Take whatever they wanted. There was never such a possibility. Unless you were the child of Long Zun. When they were first enslaved by Qin Feiyong, they were quite depressed and missed the opportunity to enter the Dragon God Palace. But now that they heard Qin Feiyong's words, all the negative emotions in their hearts instantly disappeared. Only excitement was left. Because the words, take whatever they want, meant that they would have endless soul stones and resources in the future. This was what they had dreamed of before. Following this person was worth it. What about me? The big black wolf was slightly stunned and hurriedly looked at Qin Feiyong fawningly. Same. Qin Feiyong smiled and turned to enter the cultivation room and began to cultivate in seclusion. Awesome. The big black wolf laughed and looked at Chao Dayuan. He said proudly, Kid, are you jealous? Jealous? Unfortunately, this is something you can't get. Li Changhe glanced at Chao Dayuan, their faces full of pride. Chao Dayuan was indeed envious and jealous, and even more regretful. Why was he so stupid at that time and ran to tip them off? If he had served this person wholeheartedly from the beginning, he might have ended up like this big wolf dog in Li Changhe. This difference in thinking, the difference in treatment was like heaven and earth. Time passed like this day by day. The Dragon God Palace also gradually regained its peace. Neither the young man nor the black-clothed man came to look for Qin Feiyong again, as if they had been forgotten. However, Fan Yunzhang did look for Qin Feiyong a few times. Of course, he definitely wouldn't come to the Dragon God Palace to look for Qin Feiyong, so he used the image crystal. And his purpose of looking for Qin Feiyong was to persuade Qin Feiyong to complete the task of replacing all the city lords in the north. But every time Fan Yunzhang heard about this, Qin Feiyong would directly turn off the image crystal. He was already too busy with his own affairs, and he still had the mood to care about other people's business. If he had this free time, he might as well cultivate in seclusion. This made Fan Yunzhang very helpless. Later, Fan Yunzhang found Zhang Dafei and asked Zhang Dafei to persuade Qin Feiyong. But it was useless. In the end, Qin Feiyong, who was annoyed by the two of them, directly said that it was useless even if the ancestor came. As a result, the two of them could only give up helplessly. As for Zhang Dafei, he also found the immortal general and got a certificate to confirm his identity to Qin Feiyong. This certificate was also the twin dragon pendant of the mermaid princess. Because in this immortal general's opinion, the twin dragon pendant was the best token. And this immortal general naturally learned from Fan Yunzhang and Zhang Dafei that Qin Feiyong refused this task. Regarding this, he was also very helpless. If it was someone else, he would dare to beat, scold, and force them, but this was the descendant of the Qin emperor, who dared to touch him. He could only persuade him slowly, or think of another way. Chapter 2440. In the blink of an eye. 3.5 years had passed. For the creatures of the divine land, let alone 3 years, even 300 years or 3,000 years was just a blink of an eye. But for Qin Feiyang it was a very long seclusion, because more than 10,000 years had passed in the castle. According to the time in the castle, he was already a 10,000-year-old antique. Boom! And on this day, his cultivation had broken through to the perfected Divine Lord realm. To break through to the Divine Lord realm, he needed to consume 4 billion soul stones. According to his refining speed, it would take him about 850 soul stones a day, which would take about 12,000 years. But according to the castle, it would only take him about 1,200 days. In years it would take him 3.5 years. After the breakthrough, he did not stop and immediately stabilized his realm, preparing to break through to the perfected Divine Lord realm in one go. Because once he broke through to the perfected Divine Lord realm, he could take the Chaos Divine Pill and directly break through to the half-step Divine Lord realm. His cultivation would increase by a lot in an instant. Buzz! But things did not go as planned. The image crystal rang. Qin Feiyang took out the image crystal. 2 phantoms appeared. It was Fan Yunzhang and Jiang Dafei. Aren't you annoying? When Qin Feiyang saw them, he was ready to turn off the image crystal. Jiang Dafei hurriedly said, "Young lord, don't be anxious. Let us finish." Qin Feiyang frowned and said expressionlessly, "Speak." Jiang Dafei said, "Someone wants to see you." "See me?" Qin Feiyang was slightly stunned and asked, "Who?" "A very important person." Jiang Dafei said, "Yes. It's very important to you." Fan Yunzhang also said, "Very important." Qin Feiyang thought for a while and immediately asked, "Is it the ancestor?" "You'll know when you come." The two of them smiled mysteriously. Qin Feiyang said lightly, "It's useless even if the ancestor comes." Jiang Dafei and Fan Yunzhang looked at each other and could not help but smile bitterly. Fan Yunzhang said helplessly, "Anyway, come over first. I'll give you the pill fire." "Okay." Qin Feiyang nodded and asked, "Where shall we meet?" "Definitely not in the city lord's mansion. Fenghua Tower it is. This subordinate has already booked a room. Room 7 on the 7th floor." Jiang Dafei said. "All right." Qin Feiyang nodded and turned off the image crystal. "Who wants to see me?" Qin Feiyang muttered to himself with a puzzled look in his eyes. He stood up, put away the image crystal, and walked out of the cultivation room. Inside the hall, there was no one there. Li Changhe, Wang Daoyuan, and the big black wolf had already gone into seclusion. He walked out of the hall and stood outside the castle, looking at the medicinal field. Looking at the current medicinal field, Qin Feiyang's face was suddenly filled with shock. In the beginning, this was only a very small medicinal field. But now, the medicine field had almost occupied half of the devil's land. All the medicinal herbs that Qin Feiyang recognized were available here. There were also some that even he didn't recognize. Furthermore, after so many years of growth, the medicinal herbs had also changed greatly. For example, the Nirvana divine tree that he had first encountered was originally only 1 meter tall. But now it was dozens of feet tall, with lush branches and leaves, like a large umbrella towering into the sky. There were hundreds of Nirvana divine fruits on it. Looking at the essence chi and energy that filled the medicinal field, it was so dense that it had formed a mist. It was just like the sea of clouds in the Dragon God Palace. The medicinal herbs were overflowing with multicolored light. Coupled with the spiritual essence and energy, the demonic land, which was originally fraught with danger, was now like a fairyland. Could be said that, cultivating in seclusion in the medicinal field, even without refining soul stones, one's cultivation speed could still increase by leaps and bounds. Just like at this moment, Chao Deyuan was cultivating in the small courtyard next to it. Originally, he was half a step into the immortal realm. After all these years, he had already stepped into the immortal realm. "What are you doing?" Qin Feiyang walked into the small courtyard and looked at him coldly. Chao Deyuan was shocked and hurriedly opened his eyes. He got up and looked at Qin Feiyang, saying, "Brother Li." Qin Feiyang said indifferently, "I don't think I allowed you to cultivate here." Chao Deyuan panicked and said, "Aren't I idle? Besides, more than 10,000 years have passed. What else can I do if I don't cultivate? But don't worry, I didn't take a single soul stone here. You have to have the guts. Qin Feiyong smiled coldly and asked, "Where's the fire lotus?" "I don't know. Half a year ago, she left the Devil's Land with the 3 Black Panther brothers." Chao Dun shook his head. Qin Feiyong closed his eyes and extended his perception infinitely. Swish! In the next moment, he disappeared into thin air from Chao Duyuan's sight. Chao Duyuan finally heaved a sigh of relief. Looking at the medicinal field around him, his eyes were filled with greed. If these medicinal herbs were all his, how good would that be? The Desert of Death. In the deepest part, 100-story stone pagoda stood tall in the desert. This was the place that the creatures of the Black Tortoise world called the Divine Treasury. In the past, this was the end, but now there was a vast desert in front of the Divine Treasury. In the sky above the desert, 1 man and 3 beasts scanned the front, their eyes full of surprise. It was the 3 Black Panther brothers and Fire Lotus. The Black Tortoise world has grown a lot. Qin Feiyong walked silently beside Fire Lotus and looked ahead. "Boss!" The 3 Black Panther brothers were slightly taken aback and immediately looked at Qin Feiyong excitedly. "You're out." Fire Lotus also smiled. Qin Feiyong nodded and looked at the 3 Black Panther brothers. He smiled and said, "You've improved a lot." In the past, the 3 Black Panther brothers were perfect monarchs. But now their cultivation had reached the half-step divine realm. It was all bestowed by Big Sister. Not only did she help us open the door of potential, but she also gave us chaos divine pills. And she let us take any soul stones. The 3 Black Panther brothers' eyes were full of gratitude. Qin Feiyong smiled and said, "That means you're very obedient." "That's natural. Big Sister's words are an imperial edict." "Of course. That includes you, boss." The 3 brothers' faces were full of flattery. Qin Feiyong shook his head and laughed. He looked at Fire Lotus and said, "What are you doing here?" "I'm observing the changes in the Black Tortoise world." Fire Lotus pointed ahead and said, "Look, after more than 10,000 years of growth, the Black Tortoise world has grown a lot." Qin Feiyong looked up. From the desert, it could be seen that the Black Tortoise world had grown by at least 100 miles. In other words, the Black Tortoise world's current diameter was more than 200 miles. Because the 4 sides of the Black Tortoise world were growing. 100 miles on each side, 200 miles on both sides added together. Suddenly, Qin Feiyong's eyes showed a trace of doubt. At the end of the desert was a dark area. "What is that?" Qin Feiyong was suspicious. Fire Lotus said, "At first I didn't know. Later on, I heard from that brat that it's a chaotic zone." "That brat appeared before?" Qin Feiyong was startled. "Yes. He appeared a few times. He seems to be observing the changes in the Black Tortoise world." Fire Lotus nodded. "Chaotic zone." Qin Feiyong looked again and frowned. According to him, the chaotic zone is the state before heaven and earth were formed. And inside the chaotic zone there is an extremely terrifying pressure. Other than the ruler of the world, no one can enter. Fire Lotus said, "So that's how it is." Qin Feiyong suddenly understood and asked, "Then I can enter?" "Of course. You are the master of the Black Tortoise world. Where can't you go?" Fire Lotus nodded with a smile. Qin Feiyong's eyes flashed slightly, and he took a step forward. In front of the chaotic zone, he took a tentative step forward. When he stepped into the chaotic zone, he didn't feel any obstruction or pressure. Thus, his entire body entered the chaotic zone. In front of him, everything was gray and there was nothing. It was dead silent. After observing for a while, Qin Feiyong retreated from the chaotic zone and returned to Fire Lotus's side. "How is it inside?" Fire Lotus looked at him curiously. "There's nothing." Qin Feiyong shook his head. "It's just as that brat said. I'm not afraid of you laughing at me. I've tried many times to enter and take a look, but I've never succeeded." Fire Lotus said. Qin Feiyong smiled and said, "Since it's clear that the Black Tortoise world is growing, then there's no need to pay so much attention in the future. You should also cultivate well." "Actually, I've been cultivating all this time." Fire Lotus said. "You've been cultivating all this time?" Qin Feiyong was stunned. Why didn't he see it? Fire Lotus smiled faintly. "What I'm cultivating is not to increase my cultivation, but to comprehend the profound meaning of laws. Comprehend the profound meaning of laws? Qin Feiyang looked at her in surprise. Yes, there are also strong and weak undead realm experts. And this kind of strength, in addition to divine arts and divine artifacts, there is also the power of laws. A person who controls the power of laws can easily kill a person who doesn't control the power of laws. Fire Lotus explained. You don't need to say this, I can think of it. But what kind of profound meaning of laws are you comprehending? Qin Feiyang was curious. That depends on the opportunity. Fire Lotus said. Opportunity? Qin Feiyang was stunned and frowned. Without a clear goal, how can you comprehend it? The profound meaning of laws is not comparable to others. Only when the profound meaning of laws awakens will you know what kind of power of laws you have. Fire Lotus said. I don't understand. Qin Feiyang shook his head. It's normal that you don't understand now, because only when you break through to the undead realm can you slowly understand it. Fire Lotus said with a smile. All right. Qin Feiyang smiled helplessly and said, let's go back. I still have something to do. Where are you going? Fire Lotus was suspicious. Holy Dragon City. Fan Yunzhang and Zhang Dafei sent a message saying that someone wants to see me. I guess it's my ancestor. Qin Feiyang rubbed his forehead. Originally, he had always wanted to have a good chat with his ancestor, but now he had a headache. Fire Lotus asked with a smile. Are you afraid that the Qin Emperor will force you to accept that mission? Of course. Qin Feiyang was helpless. He really didn't have the time. Why couldn't they just let him go? There were so many people in the Dragon Slayer Palace. Why couldn't they just let someone else do it? Since the Qin Emperor gave you this mission, it will definitely help you in the future. Why don't you accept it? Fire Lotus persuaded. Qin Feiyang said unhappily. I accept this mission, and you want to help me complete it? Sure. Fire Lotus nodded. Qin Feiyang was stunned. She agreed immediately. Wasn't she afraid of trouble at all? This girl. Chapter 2441. In fact, Qin Feiyang could see that Fire Lotus wasn't afraid of trouble. It was all to help him. Otherwise, how could she have the time to care about other people's business? But it was because of this that he was even more unwilling to accept this mission. Because Fire Lotus had already helped him a lot. He couldn't let her waste her energy on these trivial matters. Boom! Just as Qin Feiyang was about to bring Fire Lotus and the three brothers back to the Devil's Land, a terrifying divine power suddenly emerged. What? The three brothers were shocked. How could the Black Tortoise world have such a terrifying divine power? Because this divine power had already surpassed Fire Lotus. It seems to be from the Netherworld Sea. Qin Feiyang was also shocked. He looked towards the source of the aura and said in a deep voice, Let's go take a look. Boss Black Panther said. We have to go take a look. He's actually one step ahead of me and broke through to the initial imperishable realm. Fire Lotus laughed. And the three brothers looked at Fire Lotus in surprise. Listening to this, Big Sister knew him? Qin Feiyang also suddenly smiled and said, So it's Hua Yi. After that, Qin Feiyang closed his eyes and searched for Hua Yi's location. Soon, he waved his hand and brought Fire Lotus and the three brothers, descending in the sky above a black ocean. Below was the Netherworld Sea, as far as the eye could see. But the strange thing was that the water in the Netherworld Sea was black and emitted a hair-raising aura. Although the Netherworld Sea was one of the forbidden areas of the Black Tortoise world, the creatures of the Black Tortoise world would often risk their lives to enter the Netherworld Sea. Because here, Fire Lotus also hid many divine items. Directly below there was a small island. The island was filled with rocks and was lifeless. In the center of the island, a young man wearing a fiery robe with long fiery red hair was sitting cross-legged on a huge rock. Who else could it be but Hua Yi? That aura was like a volcanic eruption rolling out. Between heaven and earth the wind whistled, flying sand and gravel. This momentum not only alarmed Qin Feiyang and the others, but also the entire Black Tortoise world's living beings. Almost all living beings were looking at the Netherworld Sea. Those who were searching for treasures in the Netherworld Sea were even more shocked. Whose aura was it? How could it be so terrifying? Was there such a powerful character in the Black Tortoise world? A huge city was located somewhere in the Black Tortoise world. This was the site of the Vango League. At this moment, Two middle-aged men stood above the city, looking at the netherworld sea. If Qin Feiyong was here, he would definitely recognize them as the two guards he had brought into the Black Tortoise world. Pai Lupi Theta Wang. Due to the Black Tortoise world's time laws, both of their cultivations had improved by leaps and bounds. He also relied on his powerful strength to become the overlord of the Black Tortoise realm. Pai Lupi said in shock, Theta Wang, this aura is terrifying. Yeah. It feels like it's already beyond the Nine Heavens realm. I think he's definitely not from the Black Tortoise world. Theta Wang said in a deep voice, yeah. There's no such person in the Black Tortoise world. If I'm not wrong, he must be Qin Feiyong's friend. Pai Lupi said, we can't afford to offend these people. In the future, we'd better send people to guard the Devil's Land. Anyone who dares to enter the Devil's Land will be killed without mercy. Theta Wang said. I agree. Pai Lupi nodded. The other living beings in the Black Tortoise world didn't know, but they knew very well what kind of people lived in the Devil's Land. They definitely couldn't afford to offend them. The Netherworld Sea. Qin Feiyong, Fire Lotus, and Black Panther stood in the air, silently looking at Hua Yi. Hua Yi's aura grew stronger and stronger. About half an hour later, boom! The island under Hua Yi shattered with a loud bang. The surrounding netherworld sea surged with huge waves, and many people were swallowed by the sea. The seawater of the netherworld sea had an extremely strong corrosive power. No one who was swept into the sea could escape. They were all corroded by the seawater, and not even their bones were left. Swish! At this moment, Hua Yi opened his eyes and two rays of light burst out. Haha, I finally broke through. Dragons, just you wait. I'll find you sooner or later to settle the score. Hua Yi suddenly stood up and laughed. Not bad. Fire Lotus said. Huh. Hua Yi was slightly taken aback. He looked up at the sky and asked in surprise, why are you guys here? Qin Feiyong was speechless. You've caused such a big commotion. How can we not come and take a look? Hua Yi was stunned. Looking at the rolling netherworld sea, he quickly retracted his aura. At this moment, the netherworld sea began to slowly calm down. If you want to break through, then break through. Why do you have to make such a big scene? I wonder how many people have died in vain in the netherworld sea. Fire Lotus rolled her eyes. Hua Yi smiled embarrassedly and flew in front of the two of them. He looked at the three Black Leopard brothers and said, you guys got a new pet? When he subdued the three Black Leopard brothers, Hua Yi had already gone to cultivate, so he didn't know what had happened during this period of time. Qin Feiyong said, not a pet, a partner. Alright. Hua Yi grinned, looked at Fire Lotus and said, all these years did Qin Feiyong bully you? What are you talking about? How could he bully me? Fire Lotus was speechless. She looked at Qin Feiyong and said to Hua Yi, you don't have to hide it anymore. Qin Dage already knows my identity. Fire Lotus did not send a sound transmission to him. What the hell? Already know. Hua Yi was stunned. Do you really think you can hide it from me? You're the disciple of the Vice Palace Master. You really know how to brag. Qin Feiyong sneered. I'm just afraid of being misunderstood by you. You said I have other intentions. Hua Yi smiled. Then can you tell me now why your aura makes me feel inexplicably familiar? Qin Feiyong was suspicious. Hua Yi chuckled. Is there a need to think about it? I'm your long-lost brother. Fire Lotus couldn't help but laugh out loud. The corner of Qin Feiyong's mouth twitched. This guy was too good at bullshitting. Brother. And long-lost? He really admired this guy's imagination. I won't tease you anymore. Actually, it's because of this. Hua Yi laughed and took out a battle sword from his body. What? Qin Feiyong's eyes trembled. The battle sword was purple gold in color, but it was only half of it without a sword tip. When this broken sword appeared, the sense of familiarity became even stronger. Hua Yi smiled. I believe you're not unfamiliar with this broken sword, right? Of course not. Because this broken sword was exactly the same as the broken sword in the ancestral statue's hand. Qin Feiyong was surprised. Why is it in your hands? Back then, the battle with the dragons caused my Nine Heavens Palace to suffer heavy losses. Your ancestor felt guilty, so when he left the broken sword in Nine Heavens Palace. Hua Yi said. Qin Feiyong was stunned and looked at the broken sword suspiciously. According to Hua Yi, His ancestor left this broken sword as compensation for Nine Heavens Palace. But this broken sword didn't look very strong. As if seeing Qin Feiyong's doubts, Hui smiled. Don't be fooled by its appearance. This broken sword has always been sealed, but it's actually a heaven-defying divine artifact. What? A heaven-defying divine artifact? Qin Feiyong was shocked. That's right. However, it wasn't sealed by itself, but by someone. As for who sealed it, your ancestor doesn't know, and of course I don't know either. All these years I've tried to undo the seal, but I couldn't do it. Hui rubbed the broken sword and said regretfully. Seal. Qin Feiyong muttered and said, let me see. Hui handed the broken sword to Qin Feiyong. Qin Feiyong grabbed it in his hand, and his spirit sense rushed towards the broken sword. Don't! Seeing this, Hui's face suddenly changed, and he hurriedly shouted. But it was too late. Qin Feiyong's spirit sense had already entered the broken sword. Immediately, a mysterious force surged out and instantly shattered Qin Feiyong's spirit sense. Puff! Qin Feiyong's face turned pale, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. His eyes filled with shock. Didn't you say you were just looking? Why are you still using your spirit sense to peek? I'll tell you. Even my spirit sense can't peek into the seal inside the broken sword, Hui said. Then why didn't you say so earlier? Fire Lotus said angrily. Hui was stunned. I knew it long ago. Qin Feiyong pursed his lips. Ha! Hui laughed dryly and waved his hand. It's just a name, you can call me whatever you want. But during the time I was in seclusion, did anything interesting happen? His face was full of curiosity. Chapter 2442. Qin Feiyong was too lazy to talk nonsense with him. With a wave of his hand, the 3 men and 3 beasts instantly descended above the medicine field. What's going on? When he saw the medicine field at this moment, Hui's face was full of shock. Compared to when he left, the difference was like heaven and earth. Fire Lotus smiled and said, a lot of things have happened in the years you were gone. Looking at this magnificent medicine field, you can tell that a lot of interesting things must have happened. Tell me quickly. Hui looked at Fire Lotus with interest. Qin Feiyong looked at the 2 men and 3 beasts and said with a smile, you guys take your time, I'll go to Holy Dragon City first. Okay. Fire Lotus nodded. Black Panther asked, Boss, why don't you ask how many crystal veins and soul lines we got this time? How many? Qin Feiyong asked with a smile. Including the soul lines and crystal veins from Black Rock City, we now have a total of 1,200 soul lines and 2,300 crystal veins. And the soul lines and crystal veins in Black Rock City, that were originally below level 9, have now evolved into divine level soul lines and crystal veins. Black Panther said excitedly. Qin Feiyong was taken aback and asked, are they all rank 1 and 2? No. Many of the soul lines and crystal veins in Holy Dragon City are rank 3. And there are even more than a dozen rank 5 soul lines and crystal veins, Black Panther said. In other words, the soul lines and crystal veins in the north are at most rank 5, Qin Feiyong said. That's the case for now. But the Dragon God Palace must have soul lines and crystal veins above rank 5. Boss, when are we going to make a move on the Dragon God, His Highness? The 3 Black Panther brothers laughed evilly, looking ready to make a move. Qin Feiyong smiled bitterly. Were these 3 brothers bandits? Wait, what are you talking about? What Dragon God Palace? Hui looked at them suspiciously. I'll tell you later. The Black Panther boss waved his paw at Hui, then looked at Qin Feiyong, instigating, Boss, for the sake of the Black Tortoise World's billions of lives, the Dragon God's Hall's crystal vein and soul vein must not be let go. Billions? Qin Feiyong was speechless. How could there be so many people in the Black Tortoise World? Let's talk about it later. Qin Feiyong smiled and looked at Chao Duyun, who was standing in the courtyard, and said, Come here. As for Chao Duyun, after Qin Feiyong and the others returned, he had been staring at Hui, his eyes filled with fear. This was because he could feel that the aura Hui was exuding was even stronger than the Fire Lotus. One had to know. The Fire Lotus was a half-step indestructible. If he was stronger than the Fire Lotus, didn't that mean he had already surpassed the half-step undying level? Just how many supreme experts were hidden by this person's side? You didn't hear me? Chao Diyuan said. The waiter was stunned and smiled. Okay, I'll bring you two up. No need, I know the place. Chao Diyuan waved his hand. Okay then. Please help yourself. The waiter nodded and went to the next guest. 7th floor. Inside the 7th private room, two middle-aged men in ordinary clothes sat in front of the coffee table, looking extremely anxious. Why haven't they come yet? Could it be that young lord stood us up? The two of them were Fan Yunzhang and Zhang Dafei, but they had changed their appearances. After all, Zhang Dafei's status in Holy Dragon City was not low. If they came to Fenghua Tower with their real faces, it would definitely attract attention. Stand us up? Don't say it, maybe it's really possible. Our young lord is too hard to predict. Zhang Dafei sighed. In the past 3 years, Zhang Dafei and Fan Yunzhang had a lot of private contacts, so they were quite familiar with each other now. Dong! Suddenly, there was a knock on the door. The two of them were stunned and looked at the door at the same time. When they came back to their senses, the two of them hurried over. When Fan Yunzhang opened the door, he saw two unfamiliar faces standing outside. You are? Fan Yunzhang asked with a trace of vigilance. Qin Feiyang said, what do you think? With that, he went straight into the room. Chao Diyuan hurried in as well. Fan Yunzhang and Zhang Dafei looked at each other, closed the door, and turned to look at Qin Feiyang. They did not let down their guard. Qin Feiyang looked around the room. Not only was there a tea room, but there was also a separate dining room and bedroom. The decoration was also very luxurious. Qin Feiyang walked into the tea room and sat beside the coffee table. He looked at Fan Yunzhang and Zhang Dafei, took out a facial restoration pill, and threw it into his mouth. Soon, his true appearance was restored. Greetings, young lord. When the two of them saw him, they immediately knelt down and saluted. And they also took the facial restoration pill and restored their true appearance. Get up. When you see me in the future, you don't need to be so formal. Be casual. Qin Feiyang said with a faint smile. Yes. The two of them got up. Sit down. Qin Feiyang smiled. The two of them hurried over and sat opposite Qin Feiyang. Then Fan Yunzhang picked up the teapot and poured tea for Qin Feiyang. Chao Diyuan was very sensible and stood respectfully behind Qin Feiyang. Young lord, we heard that you like tea very much, so we specially brought some good tea for you to taste. Fan Yunzhang laughed. Qin Feiyang looked at the teacup, picked it up and put it at the tip of his nose. Suddenly, the fragrance of the tea assailed his nostrils. Then, he took another sip, tasted it carefully for a while, nodded and smiled. It's not bitter or astringent. The tea is mellow and mellow. It's indeed good tea. Looking at Qin Feiyang's satisfied expression, the two of them couldn't help but laugh. Don't think that just because you brought some good tea, I will agree to take on that boring task. Tell me who wants to see me. Qin Feiyang put down the teacup and said lightly. When he scanned the room earlier, he didn't see anyone else. Hearing that, the smile on the two of their faces immediately froze, and they felt extremely helpless. This young lord treated people really well. Easygoing kind. He didn't put on any airs. But why was he so stubborn? Chapter 2443. Fan Yunzhang said. The person who wants to see you hasn't arrived yet. Hasn't arrived yet? Can't you show some sincerity? Qin Feiyang raised his eyebrows. Judging from the way Fan Yunzhang addressed him, he shouldn't be an ancestor. Because the people of the Dragon Slayer Palace would definitely address their ancestors as Dizun. Wait, could it be a divine general? Fan Yunzhang took out 6 jade boxes from his interspatial ring and said respectfully, Young master, this is the elixir fire you want. Please take a look. Qin Feiyang waved his hand and the 6 boxes opened. Then, a wave of hot fire surged out. The entire room seemed to have turned into a big furnace. There was a cluster of elixir fire in each of the 6 boxes. There was a normal elixir fire and a bone-white elixir fire. The 6 clusters of elixir fire gave out different auras. 3 clusters of first-grade elixir fire and 3 clusters of second-grade elixir fire. Not bad. Qin Feiyang nodded with a smile and sent the 6 boxes to the cultivation room in the castle. In this way, the netherworld demonic flame could be upgraded to a 3rd-grade elixir fire. Based on the current situation, When the netherworld demonic flame was upgraded to a third-grade elixir fire, it should be able to refine 9.5 elixir patterns. Because the current netherworld demonic flame could refine 8.5 elixir patterns with a second-grade elixir furnace. Wait a minute. 9.5? Then I'll be able to refine a divine-level elixir with just half a elixir pattern. Qin Feiyong mumbled. In other words, when the netherworld demonic flame evolved to a third-grade divine fire and found a third-grade elixir furnace, wouldn't he be able to refine a divine-level elixir? Zhang Dafei. With this thought, Qin Feiyong looked at Zhang Dafei. When he went to the treasure pavilion in Blackstone City, there was no third-grade elixir furnace, so Fan Yunzhang couldn't help. But the Holy Dragon City was different. As the largest city in the north, the Holy Dragon City must have better elixir fires and elixir furnaces. What's wrong, young master? Zhang Dafei looked at Qin Feiyong suspiciously. Qin Feiyong asked, who is the current city lord of Holy Dragon City? I haven't decided yet. I'm trying to get it. Zhang Dafei said. Qin Feiyong was stunned. You want to be the city lord? Since there is such an opportunity, this subordinate will definitely not let it go. Zhang Dafei laughed. Young lord, there's something you don't know. Although Brother Zhang is not the city lord yet, he is currently in charge of all the affairs of the city lord's mansion. Actually, I'm no different from the city lord. Fan Yun laughed. There's still a difference between a substitute and a real city lord. It's a pity that the young lord refused to help. Otherwise, I would have become the city lord by now. Zhang Dafei shook his head regretfully. Fan Yunzhang looked at Qin Feiyong. He wanted to know how Qin Feiyong would react if he heard this. But the result was very disappointing. Qin Feiyong remained indifferent. He looked at the two of them indifferently and said, what's the point of you echoing each other here? The two of them smiled embarrassedly. Indeed, nothing could escape the young lord's eyes. Qin Feiyong said, since it's a substitute, I have a certain amount of authority. Help me find a third-grade divine furnace. Zhang Dafei looked at Fan Yunzhang when he heard this, and a smile appeared on his face. Qin Feiyong looked at the two of them suspiciously. Young lord, please take a look. Zhang Dafei waved his hand, and a pill furnace suddenly appeared. Qin Feiyong was stunned and looked at the pill furnace suspiciously. The pill furnace was bronze in color, with 3 legs and 2 handles. A fiery red bull was engraved on it, shining with a dazzling treasure light. Qin Feiyong got up and walked to the pill furnace. This pill furnace was actually a third-grade divine furnace. Old Fan told me long ago that you needed a pill fire and a pill furnace. So when I was free, I went to the treasure pavilion to auction a third-grade divine furnace. Zhang Dafei smiled. Qin Feiyong looked at the two of them in a daze. Not bad. Without saying anything, they knew what he wanted. Fan Yunzhang smiled ingratiatingly. Young lord, we're so considerate of you, aren't we? Qin Feiyong was stunned. He returned to his seat and said, everything else is fine, but the task is off the table, so it was premeditated. There was indeed no free lunch in this world. The two of them smiled bitterly. This furnace is called the Firebull furnace. You can use it first. When I have enough money, I'll buy a 4th-grade or 5th-grade divine furnace for you. Zhang Dafei handed the pill furnace to Qin Feiyong. Qin Feiyong was stunned and hurriedly said, Holy Dragon City has 4th-grade and 5th-grade divine furnaces. Of course. But it's very expensive. Zhang Dafei said. How much? Qin Feiyong was suspicious. The 4th-grade and 5th-grade divine furnaces cost at least 1 trillion divine crystals. Zhang Dafei said. 1 trillion? That's not a lot. You're the acting city lord after all. You don't even have that much divine crystals? Qin Feiyong frowned. When Zhang Dafei heard this, the bitter smile on his face deepened. Young lord, don't forget that the city lord mansion's treasure vault and herb field were robbed by you. Not a single word was left. Let's talk about it later. Even if you didn't rob the treasure vault and herb field, the sect master of the Dragon God Palace wouldn't dare to use them privately. As for Brother Zhang himself, although he used to be the second commander, he relied on his salary to survive and didn't have any savings at all. Fan Yunzhang explained. Qin Feiyong was stunned. He smiled and said, then it's not easy for you guys. Fan Yunzhang shook his head and sighed. We're the lowest members of the Dragon Slayer Palace. It's already not easy to fill our stomachs. Yeah. We can't compare to you, young lord. Zhang Dafei nodded with indescribable bitterness. Based on what you're saying as the young hall master, I can get whatever I want? Qin Feiyong frowned. We wouldn't dare. The two hurriedly waved their hands. I think that's what you mean. Although both of my ancestors were thearchs of the Dragon Slayer Palace, I've never asked them for a single divine crystal. Everything that I have now was earned by my own hands. Qin Feiyong said. One of his ancestors was Qin Badian and the other was Lu Zhongyang. We know. Jiang Dafei and Fan Yunzhang smiled. Qin Feiyong rolled his eyes at the two and got up. Since the divine general isn't here yet, I'll go to the castle first. Then, he took the flaming bull cauldron and disappeared. Divine general? Jiang Dafei and Fan Yunzhang looked at each other. Did the young lord think that the divine general wanted to see him? Inside the castle's cultivation room, Qin Feiyong put down the pill furnace and lowered his head to ponder. After a while, Qin Feiyong turned around and walked to the door. He shouted towards the outside. Hulian, come here for a bit. Soon, Fire Lotus walked into the castle and looked at Qin Feiyong. What's the matter? Qin Feiyong asked. How many soul stones and divine crystals do we have now? Too many, I haven't counted. Fire Lotus shook her head. A day outside was 10 years in the castle. Qin Feiyong had been in seclusion for more than 10,000 years, and he had already accumulated a large number of soul stones and divine crystals. Take a rank 1 divine level soul line for example. A rank 1 divine level soul line could produce 10,000 soul stones a year. In other words, a single rank 1 god class soul line had produced more than 120 million soul stones in the past 12,000 years. And now, there were more than 1,000 soul lines in the Black Tortoise world, and there were even rank 2, 3, 4, and 5 soul lines. Calculating carefully, the number of soul stones he had now exceeded 100 billion. Not to mention divine crystals. The annual production of a crystal vein was even higher than soul stones. For example, a rank 1 divine level crystal vein produced 10 times more soul stones a year, 100,000. Then now he should have more than 1 trillion divine crystals. Hearing these two numbers, Qin Feiyong himself was also shocked. He didn't expect that in just a few years, he would have such a huge amount of wealth. But he knew. This was all thanks to the castle. Without the castle's time formation, 100 billion soul stones? 1 trillion divine crystals? It was all a dream. Like this. Collect all the soul stones and divine crystals. Qin Feiyong pondered for a moment and looked at Fire Lotus. What? Give it to Jiang Dafei and Fan Yunzhang. Fire Lotus said. Qin Feiyong smiled. Since they are working for me, I naturally can't treat them unfairly. Fire Lotus frowned. But there's no need to give it all to them. It's okay. Anyway, these crystal veins and soul veins are produced every day. Qin Feiyong smiled faintly. Alright then. But I still have to keep some soul stones. After all, now not only you and the white-eyed wolf but also the big black wolf, the 3 Black Panther brothers and Li Changhe. Fire Lotus said. Qin Feiyong smiled. Do as you see fit. Okay. I'll go collect them now. With that, Fire Lotus turned and left. Qin Feiyong also turned and walked to the altar, taking out the 3 first-grade divine fires. After the netherworld demonic flame devoured them, it directly advanced to a 2nd-grade divine fire. Qin Feiyong tried to use the original 2nd-grade divine furnace to refine a healing pill. As expected, he refined 9 pill veins. Immediately after, Qin Feiyong was looking forward to it. Divine pill. He would be able to refine this kind of legendary elixir immediately. How could he not be excited? He took out the 3 2nd-grade divine fires. When the netherworld demonic flame advanced to a 3rd grade, he would use the fire ox cauldron that Jiang Dafei gave him to refine a healing pill. The level of the pill cauldron and pill fire had both advanced by a level. The divine pill definitely could not run away. But, when the healing pill came out, he was stunned. This healing pill actually did not have a dragon-shaped pill chi, but 10 pill veins. 10 pill veins? What was going on? Didn't pills have at most 9 pill veins? Wait. He remembered that Zhao Tailai and the others said that when he opened the door of rebirth and fell into a state of near death, the divine level guardian fire python came to save him with a divine pill. As for that medicinal pill, there were 10 dragon-shaped core qi. Since there were 10 dragon-shaped pill qi, then the highest number of pill veins should also be 10. Thinking of this, Qin Feiyong could not help but smile bitterly. In the past, the alchemists he met, except for his ancestor, none of them could refine divine-level elixirs. And his ancestor did not tell him. So much so that he mistakenly thought that the highest number of pill veins was 9. In that case, if he wanted to refine divine-level elixirs, he had to raise the netherworld demonic flame to a 4th grade. The pill cauldron also had to be a 4th grade. 4th grade. Gradually, a trace of a smile appeared on his face. 4th grade divine cauldron and divine fire were nothing to his current financial resources. Moreover, what the netherworld demonic flame needed to devour now was not 4th grade divine fire, but only 3 3rd grade divine fires. Chapter 2444. This matter couldn't be delayed. He had to let Zhang Dafei and the others deal with it as soon as possible. In the past, Qin Feiyong wasn't so eager, but now he was just one step away. Everyone was like this. When there was a long way to go, they wouldn't think about it. But when the goal was close at hand, the strong desire was unprecedented. Qin Feiyong was in such a mood now. He couldn't wait to find the alchemy fire and the alchemy furnace and refine a divine-level alchemy furnace. Qin Feiyong left the cultivation room and quickly walked out of the castle. Fire Lotus came up to him. "How is it?" Qin Feiyong asked. Fire Lotus was holding a Qingkuan bag in her hand. Looking at Qin Feiyong's anxious look, she couldn't help but shake her head and smile. Then she handed the Qingkuan bag to Qin Feiyong. Qin Feiyong grabbed the Qingkuan bag and opened it. There was nothing inside, only Qingkuan bags. He didn't know how many there were. Not only the divine crystals and soul stones under the herb field, but also the divine crystals and soul stones looted from the city lord's mansion. Fire Lotus said. "How many soul stones did we leave?" Qin Feiyong asked. "About 100 billion. Fire Lotus said. "That's enough." Qin Feiyong smiled and appeared in the tea room with the Qingkuan bag. "Young lord." Zhang Dafei and Fire Lotus immediately bowed. "Here you are." Qin Feiyong threw the Qingkuan bag to them. Zhang Dafei grabbed the Qingkuan bag and checked it. Looking at Qin Feiyong, he asked suspiciously, "What's inside?" "Soul stones, divine crystals." Qin Feiyong sat on the chair and took a sip of tea. "What?" The two were shocked. How many divine crystals and soul stones were there in so many Qingkuan bags? Qin Feiyong smiled and said, "You won't lose out if you follow me. That's for sure. We've never doubted young lord's kindness to us." The two of them were so excited that their faces were blooming with smiles. "I'm not a saint. Since I've put in so much effort, I'll definitely get something in return," Qin Feiyong said. The two of them were stunned for a moment before replying in unison. "Please give us your orders. Within an hour, find me 3 grade 3 divine flames and a grade 4 divine furnace," Qin Feiyong said. "No problem. With this wealth, it'll be a piece of cake. Wait here, we'll go to the treasure pavilion now." Zhang Dafei patted his chest and made a solemn vow. Then, he dragged Fan Yunzhang toward the door. "Right. The person who wants to see you should be here soon." Zhang Dafei turned his head and said something to Qin Feiyong. Then he opened the door and ran out with Fan Yunzhang happily, closing the door behind him. Chao Deyuan, who was at the side, could only feel envy. Qin Feiyong didn't pay any attention to him. He took out the medicinal pill with 10 veins and played with it while drinking tea. "Is this real?" Chao Deyuan rubbed his eyes and looked at the elixir in Qin Feiyong's hand. 1, 2, 3. It was actually 10 patterns. Oh my god. How terrifying was this person's attainments in alchemy? The longer he followed Qin Feiyong, the more terrified he felt and the more regretful he felt. He only hated that he was too stupid back then. Dong! About a few hundred breaths passed. Suddenly there was a knock on the door. "Open the door." Qin Feiyong glanced at the door and said to Chao Deyuan. Chao Deyuan immediately trotted over and opened the door. Immediately, 2 old faces entered Qin Feiyong's line of sight. They were 2 old women. White hair at the temples. Their bodies were bent. They both had a cane in their hands. Chao Deyuan retreated to the side and said, "Lords, please come in." The 2 old women walked in. glanced at the private room, and walked directly to the tea room. Qin Feiyong looked at the two of them suspiciously. Who was this? Chao Duyun also closed the door and looked at the two old women suspiciously. Their cultivation bases were not very high. They were only at the Great God realm. There was no aggressive aura on them. However, when they saw Qin Feiyong sitting leisurely at the tea table and not getting up to greet them, one of the old women couldn't help but feel angry. Swish! Immediately after, the old woman went forward and grabbed Qin Feiyong's face, slapping him and saying, "You brat, you're getting bolder and bolder. Seeing that we're here, you still don't get up to greet us?" Chao Duyuan looked at this scene in shock. Qin Feiyong himself was also stunned. How could there be such a rude person? Pulling others' ears as soon as he came up? The other old woman shook her head with a wry smile and said, "Sister Rushuang, don't be like this." Sister Rushuang? Qin Feiyong was stunned and looked at the old woman in surprise. Feeling sorry for him? "You little girl, you only know how to protect him." The old woman rolled her eyes and then let go of Qin Feiyong's slap. Sitting opposite Qin Feiyong, she looked at Qin Feiyong and said, "Why aren't you pouring us tea?" Oh. Qin Feiyong nodded and instinctively picked up the teapot, but suddenly frowned and said angrily, "Why? Don't you have hands?" The old woman looked at Qin Feiyong and said unhappily, "Isn't pouring tea for the elderly the most basic etiquette? Don't take advantage of your seniority." Qin Feiyong snorted and said, "Show your true form." "Guess." The old woman smiled mockingly. "Is there a need to guess?" Qin Feiyong was speechless. The two old women looked at each other and smiled, then took a facial restoration pill. Soon, the two beautiful women appeared in front of Qin Feiyong. It was Qin Rushuang and the mermaid princess. Chao Duyuan, who was standing at the side, was stunned. There was actually such a beautiful woman in this world. Qin Feiyong looked at the two and shook his head. "I really didn't expect that it would be the two of you who came to see me. Am I not welcome?" The mermaid princess said. "Of course." Qin Feiyong stood up and opened his arms. The mermaid princess did not care about Qin Rushuang and Chao Duyuan. She walked forward and hugged Qin Feiyong. "What does this have to do with anything?" Chao Duyuan was dumbfounded. The mermaid princess hugged Qin Feiyong's waist tightly and whispered, "I miss you." "I miss you too." Qin Feiyong nodded, and his eyes were very tender. He asked softly, "How have you been these years?" "Very good. Everyone takes good care of me. Especially the 5 ancestors." The mermaid princess nodded. 5 ancestors? Qin Feiyong was stunned. Why were there so many of them? The first mermaid emperor, the first black-winged emperor, and the first white-winged emperor are all her ancestors. Qin Rushuang said. What about the other 2? Qin Feiyong looked at her suspiciously. Qin Rushuang said, "Of course it's my father and uncle Lu Zhengyang." Ancestors? Lu Zhengyang. Qin Feiyong was stunned. Qin Rushuang teased, "She will become your wife sooner or later. Your ancestors are her ancestors, aren't they?" Qin Feiyong laughed dryly and said, "That's true." Hearing the conversation between the two, the mermaid princess could not help but blush. Qin Feiyong could not help but be mesmerized for a moment. Qin Rushuang coughed dryly and said, "Let me tell you, don't mess around in public." Even Qin Feiyong's face couldn't help but turn red. All right. Just a hug for a while will do. Let's get down to business," Qin Rushuang said. Qin Feiyong let go of the mermaid princess and pulled the mermaid princess to sit together. He looked at Qin Rushuang and hugged the mermaid princess. He smiled and said, "Girl, we really can't show off our love like this in the future. Otherwise, some old people will feel stifled." The mermaid princess burst out laughing. "Bastard, who are you calling an old person?" Qin Rushuang suddenly stood up, so angry that her cheeks were puffed up. You're still single at this age. According to the secular world, you're already an old leftover woman." Qin Feiyong chuckled. Qin Rushuang gritted her teeth. "Sister Rushuang, don't be angry. It's bad for your health." The mermaid princess quickly stood up and comforted her. "Keep him in check." Qin Rushuang glared fiercely at Qin Feiyong, and then returned to her seat angrily. The mermaid princess smiled helplessly and looked at Qin Feiyong. "Feiyong, we came to you this time because of that mission." Qin Feiyong was stunned. He looked at the mermaid princess and then at Qin Rushuang, frowning. After all this, you're here to persuade me? Not really. We're here because we miss you too much. This is just a side trip, the mermaid princess said. Only a ghost would miss him. Qin Rushuang snorted. The mermaid princess could not help but laugh. Feiyong, this mission was actually given to you by our ancestors. You can't let them down. Don't mention it. Chapter 2445. The mermaid princess giggled. Actually, you don't have to be so nervous. I don't mind. It's normal for men to have multiple wives. Besides, I'm quite happy to have one more person to help me take care of you. Silly girl. Qin Feiyong flicked her forehead and looked at the two girls. Let me think about this mission. No. You have to give us an answer now. Qin Rushuang shook her head. The mermaid princess smiled. And you can't refuse. So you're saying that I still have a choice? Qin Feiyong frowned. No. This is a mission given to us by Father. We have to complete it. The two girls said. Qin Feiyong was speechless. Our ancestors are really something. They let you persuade them. Don't blame Father. He's doing this to give you a chance to cultivate your force. This way, you'll have a say in the dragon-slaying palace in the future. I'll tell you the truth. The other three young lords are doing the same thing now. Qin Rushuang said. Qin Feiyong was surprised. It's just that they're not in the north. They've entered the Dragon God Palace in the west, south, and east respectively. In short, this is an invisible competition. It's about your position in the dragon-slaying palace in the future. Qin Rushuang said. I see. No wonder Fan Yunzhang said that sometimes it's better to fight for it. Qin Feiyong whispered. We all know that you're afraid of trouble. But at this time you can't act according to your temper. Because if you can control the north, not only will it be useful for you, but it'll also be of great help to Father. Qin Rushuang said. The mermaid princess nodded. Sigh. Qin Feiyong sighed and looked at the two. You've come in person. If I still refuse, won't you be sad? All right, I'll reluctantly agree. That's right. Qin Rushuang smiled. Qin Feiyong waved and said, You can go. Go. Qin Rushuang was stunned. Yeah, I've already agreed. Why are you still here? Qin Feiyong said. What a heartless bastard. Qin Rushuang glared at Qin Feiyong, then got up and grabbed the mermaid princess, saying, Sister, let's go. Qin Feiyong hurriedly hugged the mermaid princess. He looked at Qin Rushuang and said, I told you to go alone. Qin Rushuang was stunned and said angrily, Brat, don't go too far. Can't you just understand? We haven't seen each other for so long, of course. You understand? As Qin Feiyong spoke, he gave Qin Rushuang an ambiguous look. Qin Rushuang's face darkened. Don't even think about it before we're married. Your thoughts are so dirty. I just want to be alone with her for a few days. You actually thought of such a thing. It seems that the thinking of old people is still different from us young people. Qin Feiyong joked. Bastard. Qin Rushuang raised her fist and threw it at Qin Feiyong. Qin Feiyong got up and ran. Don't run if you dare. I'd be a fool if I didn't run. Watching the two of them, one running in front and the other chasing from behind, the mermaid princess could not help but shake her head and laugh. Chao Diyuan, on the other hand, was dumbfounded. In his impression, Qin Feiyong was a swift and decisive person who handled matters calmly. He did not expect that there was such a side to him. That's not right. How did your cultivation become so strong? Hold it, hold it. This is unbelievable. You're actually a great perfection paragon. Until then, Qin Feiyong finally noticed Qin Rushuang's cultivation and hurriedly waved his hand. Qin Rushuang slapped Qin Feiyong on the head, her face full of pride. Qin Feiyong looked at Qin Rushuang and then at the mermaid princess. He was stunned. This little girl was also a great perfection paragon. What was going on? Qin Feiyong walked to the mermaid princess and carefully checked. She was really a great perfection paragon. The mermaid princess smiled and said, The dragon-slaying palace has a space divine object. The time formation inside is much more powerful than the ancient castle. How powerful? 10 years in a day. Qin Feiyong was surprised. That's not right. Even if it was 10 years in a day, it couldn't be that fast. Because the ancient castle's time rule was also 10 years in a day. And now, he had just broken through to a consummate divine lord. The mermaid princess said, 50 years in a day? No way. Qin Feiyong was stunned. 50 years in a day? That was 5 times faster than the ancient castle. Chao Duyuan, who was next to him, was so shocked that his jaw almost dropped. 50 years in a day, how incredible was that? How is it? It's much better than your ancient castle that takes 10 years in a day. You must be envious. Now, do you regret that you didn't go to the dragon-slaying palace crying and screaming? Qin Rushuang looked at Qin Feiyong mockingly. She also learned about the changes in the ancient castle from the divine general. As for the divine general, she naturally learned about it from Fan Yunzhang. Because Fan Yunzhang had been to the ancient castle, Qin Feiyong also told him about it. Qin Feiyong turned a deaf ear to Qin Rushuang's words. 50 years in a day, that was too scary. If the white-eyed wolf knew about it, it would definitely be devastated. Because Qin Rushuang and the others left, the white-eyed wolf was very unhappy. When the ancient castle was unsealed and the time rule changed, it gloated and laughed at Qin Rushuang and the others. But now, it suddenly found out that Qin Rushuang and the others were actually cultivating in a space divine object that lasted 50 years a day. It would definitely go crazy. It was too shocking. It was too unbelievable. The ancient castle really couldn't compare. Qin Rushuang said proudly, when we break through to the 9 heavens realm, I guess you'll still be a divine lord. Am I that unbearable? Qin Feiyong rolled his eyes and asked, what about old Zhao and the others? To be honest, he was a little envious. They're definitely stronger than you. They're about to break through to the perfected paragon god level, especially the blood Kirin. It's already breaking through to the perfected paragon god level. Qin Rushuang said. Qin Feiyong was dumbfounded. These guys were also running too fast, right? They already left him a major realm behind. Didn't that mean he had to work harder? He regretted it. Why did he take on this mission in a moment of weakness? Wasn't it a waste of time? Swoosh! Right at this moment 2 middle-aged men appeared out of thin air. They were Jiang Dafei and Fan Yunzhang in disguise. The 2 of them were directly teleported over through the altar. Greetings, ladies. The 2 of them immediately bowed when they saw Qin Rushuang and the mermaid princess. You know us? Qin Rushuang was surprised. Jiang Dafei said, the divine general told us. Of course we know you. I see. Then you have to help Feiyong in the future. Qin Rushuang said. As the apple of the Qin emperor's eye, her status in the Dragon Slayer Palace was naturally quite high. She was even higher than Qin Feiyong, the young master. We will. The 2 of them nodded respectfully. Qin Rushuang nodded and fell silent. Jiang Dafei and Fan Yunzhang walked up to Qin Feiyong and said respectfully, young master, we did not disappoint you. Then Jiang Dafei took out 3 iron boxes and a bronze cauldron. Qin Feiyong confirmed and sent the alchemy fire and bronze cauldron to the ancient castle. He looked at the 2 of them and said with a smile, very good. In the future, continue to help me keep an eye on 4th grade divine fires and 5th grade divine furnaces. Yes. The 2 of them nodded. Fan Yunzhang looked at Qin Rushuang and Fan Yunzhang and asked, young master, what about the mission? 2 influential lobbyists came here. How can I refuse? Qin Feiyong was speechless. Just as the divine general expected, Fan Yunzhang laughed. Cough cough. Jiang Dafei quickly coughed. Fan Yunzhang was stunned. Then, his expression changed slightly and he quickly shut his mouth. What the hell? This has something to do with the divine general? Qin Feiyong looked at the 2 of them and frowned. This? The 2 of them stammered. Speak. Qin Feiyong shouted. Yes. If you don't accept the mission, the divine general can't do anything. So, he thought of asking the 2 ladies to persuade you. And he said that it would definitely work. Jiang Dafei lowered his head and said, great. You actually followed him and schemed against me behind my back. Qin Feiyong's eyes turned cold. The 2 of them hurriedly said, young master, we had no choice. We could only do this. Qin Feiyong glared at the 2 of them and waved his hand. Go go. Wouldn't it have been fine if you had done this earlier? Why do you have to go against us? The three Black Panther brothers pursed their lips. The third Black Panther ran in front of Qin Feiyong and said, "Boss, give me the healing pill." Qin Feiyong shook his head with a smile and threw the healing pill to him. The third Black Panther grabbed the healing pill and ran to Chao Dayuan's side, stuffing it into Chao Dayuan's mouth. As soon as the pill entered Chao Dayuan's mouth, his injuries healed at a speed visible to the naked eye. Even the arms that he had lost were being regenerated. Fire Lotus said in surprise, "This effect is not bad. It's almost comparable to the divine pill of life." "Yes." Hui nodded and said with a smile, "After all, it's a divine pill. The effect is definitely different." The Black Panther said, "If it's a divine pill of life, won't such injuries be healed in an instant?" "Instant recovery is a bit exaggerated. It will take some time, more or less. But I believe that 10 divine pills of life can definitely heal in an instant." Fire Lotus said with a smile. 10? Qin Feiyong shook his head and smiled bitterly. It was already rare to be able to refine a divine pill with a dragon-shaped divine pill of life, let alone 10. Qin Feiyong, if pills like Chaos Divine Pills and Nirvana Divine Pills are replaced with divine pills, will the effects change? Hui asked curiously. Chaos Divine Pills? Nirvana Divine Pills? Qin Feiyong paused for a moment and shook his head. There's no record of this in the alchemy mantra. After that, he turned around and checked the alchemy mantra. There was indeed no record of such information. Fire Lotus said, "Since the healing pill has changed, then these pills should also change." "I'm not sure about the Chaos Divine Pills, because the Chaos Divine Pills are used to increase cultivation. But the Nirvana Divine Pills, these pills are used to open the door of potential. I don't think there will be much change. After all, there's only one door of potential in each cultivation level," Qin Feiyong said. "Then let's try the Chaos Divine Pills first. Maybe we can break through 2 levels now." Fire Lotus said expectantly. 2 levels? You're dreaming too much." Qin Feiyong shook his head and smiled bitterly. Fire Lotus said, "How will we know if we don't try?" "All right. I'll try refining one," Qin Feiyong said. Fire Lotus immediately took out a set of medicinal herbs. Qin Feiyong took a deep breath and started to refine pills. Hui, Fire Lotus, and the 3 Black Panther brothers took the initiative to retreat and maintain a distance. As the spiritual liquid of several medicinal herbs was refined one after another, the Chaos Divine Pill was finally out of the furnace. There was also a dragon-shaped pill chi on it. "Who should I try it on?" Qin Feiyong asked. Hui said, "Of course it's you." Here, except for Qin Feiyong, everyone's cultivation had surpassed the Divine Lord level. That's not good. I'm now a consummate Divine Lord. If I can't break through 2 levels, my cultivation will be stuck at the consummate Divine Lord level. Qin Feiyong frowned. "Does that matter?" Hui was suspicious. "Of course it does. A consummate Divine Lord needs 8 billion soul stones to break through to the half-step Supreme God level. A consummate Divine Lord only needs 600,000 soul stones to break through to the consummate Divine Lord level. When I cultivate to the consummate Divine Lord level, I'll take the Chaos Divine Pill and break through to the half-step Supreme God level. It'll save me a lot of time," Qin Feiyong said. "That makes sense." Hui nodded and frowned. "But the problem is, only you and the White-Eyed Wolf are Divine Lords. The Black Tortoise world has given birth to some Divine Lords, but we can't let them get such a good pill." Fire Lotus smiled. "The White-Eyed Wolf?" Qin Feiyong was slightly taken aback and patted his head. "Yes, let's go find the White-Eyed Wolf." Immediately, a group of people rushed to the outside of the White-Eyed Wolf's cultivation room. Dong! Qin Feiyong knocked on the door a few times. "Get lost." However, a furious shout could be heard from the inside. Qin Feiyong's face twitched. After being in seclusion for so many years, his temper had changed. He said, "It's me." There was a moment of silence. The stone door slowly opened. The White-Eyed Wolf finally appeared in front of everyone's eyes. Its fur was golden, and its eyes looked as if they were cast in gold. What was even more surprising was on its back there were 2 golden wings. In the middle of the White-Eyed Wolf's eyebrows, there was a blood-red pattern. They looked like the wings of a fire phoenix. This was the change the White-Eyed Wolf had after breaking through to the false god level. It was extremely handsome. But until now, Qin Feiyang still didn't know why the white-eyed wolf had become like this. He had asked before, but the white-eyed wolf just kept him in suspense. The white-eyed wolf glanced at Chao Doan and the three black leopard brothers, picked its nose and said, "Not bad, you got so many little brothers." "We're little brothers? Then what are you?" It was the first time they had seen the white-eyed wolf. Not only them, but Big Black Wolf and Li Changhe had also never seen the white-eyed wolf in person. Wow! The white-eyed wolf looked at the three black leopard brothers in surprise. These three guys didn't understand the situation. Who was the boss here? Ahem. Qin Feiyang coughed and looked at the white-eyed wolf. He said, "You've been in seclusion for so long, but your cultivation hasn't improved much. Are you blind? You call a consummate divine lord not improving?" The white-eyed wolf rolled its eyes. "You've been in seclusion every day. What kind of improvement is that? Look at me. I've been busy, but I've already become a consummate divine lord." Qin Feiyang pouted. "Then why don't you say that you used to be stronger than me? We'll talk about it later. I've already become a peak consummate divine lord, and I'll soon become a consummate divine lord. When the time comes, I'll take a chaos divine pill and become an ultimate god. Kit, take your time to catch up." The white-eyed wolf looked disdainful. "You're about to break through?" Qin Feiyang was stunned. "Of course. Do you think I've been in seclusion all these years for fun?" The white-eyed wolf snorted. "Fine." Qin Feiyang smiled helplessly and put the chaos divine pill in front of the white-eyed wolf. He said, "Look." "Damn, a divine pill?" The white-eyed wolf was surprised. "Yes." Qin Feiyang nodded. "You made it?" The white-eyed wolf asked. "Who else could it be?" Qin Feiyang chuckled. The white-eyed wolf exclaimed, "Little brother, not bad." He actually called boss little brother? "Big sister, where did this guy come from? Why do I feel that he's so amazing?" The three Black Panther brothers looked at Fire Lotus suspiciously. "You don't know this, but the white-eyed wolf was the first to follow Qin Dage. I think it was when Qin Dage was 15 years old. They went through fire and water together and never left each other. So the two of them are very close. Let's put it this way. They're closer than brothers, so don't be presumptuous in front of him in the future." Fire Lotus laughed secretly. "I see." The three Black Panther brothers suddenly understood. It seemed that they had one more person to curry favor with. Qin Feiyang smiled and said, "This is a chaos divine pellet. Take it, a divine-grade chaos divine pellet can help you break through 2 minor realms." The white-eyed wolf was stunned for a moment and said in surprise, "Are you sure?" "Of course. Based on our relationship, why would I lie to you?" Qin Feiyang's face didn't turn red and his heart didn't skip a beat. He solemnly nodded. Hui, Fire Lotus, and the three Black Panther brothers looked at each other. Why didn't they know that this chaos divine pill could help them break through 2 small realms? Wasn't this deliberately tricking the white-eyed wolf? Sure enough. The closer one was, the easier it was to be tricked. The white-eyed wolf believed it and stuffed the chaos divine pill into his mouth without the slightest doubt. Although he was about to break through to the perfection monarch god realm, he still needed some time. Since he could break through directly, why would he waste time cultivating? Chapter 2447. Step back, step back. Qin Feiyang waved his hand and shouted, "You're a scammer. If it doesn't break through 2 small realms later, you'll see how it will settle the score with you." Hui gloatingly transmitted his voice. If it didn't break through 2 small realms, the white-eyed wolf's cultivation would naturally stop at perfect monarch god. In other words, it was already about to break through to perfect monarch god. Once it broke through, it would take the chaos divine pill and step into half-step supreme god. And now, if it couldn't break through 2 small realms after taking the chaos divine pill in advance, then it wouldn't be able to take the chaos divine pill again. In other words, how much time would it waste to cultivate to half-step supreme god step by step? With the white-eyed wolf's character, once it knew that it had been scammed, it would never have a day of peace. Don't gloat. When the time comes, I'll say that you instigated it, Qin Feiyang secretly said. I instigated it? Hui was slightly taken aback, and suddenly he was so angry that he blew his beard and glared. Boom! All of a sudden, The white-eyed wolf's aura rushed out uncontrollably and immediately soared. In less than 5 breaths, its cultivation had successfully stepped into perfect monarch god. But its aura didn't stop. It was still soaring. Can it really break through 2 small realms? Qin Feiyang and the others were surprised. In the end, it turned out that this was true. The white-eyed wolf's aura didn't stop at all and crazily soared all the way. Boom! Suddenly, a muffled explosion came from its body. This loud sound was the sound of the shackles between monarch god and supreme god being broken. In other words, the white-eyed wolf succeeded. It was also at this moment the white-eyed wolf's soaring aura finally stopped. In a situation like this where it crossed realms, it was impossible to break through directly. After breaking through the shackles, it still needed to cultivate by itself. But it wouldn't take long. For half-step supreme god, it would only take a year and a half. In other words, the white-eyed wolf only needed to cultivate for a year and a half to step into half-step supreme god. A year and a half was nothing to cultivators. Even with the soul stone, it would take more than 10,000 years to break through from a perfect Sir God to a half-step supreme god. Compared to over 10,000 years, a year and a half was not even a drop in the ocean. Especially in the castle, it would only take 2 hours. Sure. The white-eyed wolf was extremely excited. He looked at Qin Feiyang and said, "Quickly go and refine the Nirvana Divine Pill. After opening the door of potential, I will go and cultivate." "It's really not bad," Qin Feiyang murmured. His heart was filled with excitement. The white-eyed wolf was the best proof. Now he could boldly consume it and, like the white-eyed wolf, break through to the half-step transcendent god level. "Let's go, let's continue refining pills." Qin Feiyang chuckled and turned to enter the cultivation room. A short while later, 2 Nirvana Divine Pills and 1 Chaos Divine Pill came out of the furnace. Both of them had dragon-shaped pill chi. "You helped the white-eyed wolf open the door of potential." Qin Feiyang handed a Nirvana Divine Pill to Fire Lotus. Fire Lotus walked out with the white-eyed wolf. Qin Feiyang immediately sat cross-legged on the ground and consumed the Chaos Divine Pill. Hui, the 3 Black Panther brothers, and Chao Diyuan all watched from the side. Boom! Soon, his aura also burst out uncontrollably and soared all the way. "I'm so envious," Chao Diyuan muttered. Back then, it took a lot of time to break through to the half-step Sir God level. But now, this man and wolf only used 1 pill to break through 2 small realms. Comparisons are odious. This saying was indeed true. The 3 Black Panther brothers were also filled with emotions. If they didn't follow this person back then, they might not be able to step into the half-step transcendent god level even after a few thousand years. Fate was so wonderful. A single mistake could change the fate of a lifetime. Compared to Chao Diyuan, they were much luckier. This was because the difference in treatment was like the difference between heaven and earth. Boom! Finally, Qin Feiyang's cultivation base broke through to the perfect Sir God level. His aura was still soaring. This feeling of consecutive breakthroughs is so cool. At this moment, Qin Feiyang was especially excited, because he hadn't experienced this kind of satisfaction brought about by consecutive breakthroughs for a long time. The last time he broke through consecutively was when he took the 9 Chu Yellow Dragon Pill, and the 9 Transformation Dragon Blood Pill, 5 Elements Universe Pill, and 4 Symbols Infinite Divine Pill could only increase his cultivation by 1 small realm. Perhaps, if these 3 pills were exchanged for divine pills, they could probably increase his cultivation base by 2 small realms. But at that time, he couldn't refine divine pills. However, the past was the past. There was no need to regret. Cherish the present. Boom! His aura became stronger and stronger. However, just as he was about to break through the shackles, the soaring aura suddenly stopped. Then his aura receded like the tide. And Qin Feiyang was stunned. Hui, the 3 Black Panther brothers, and Chao Diyuan also looked at Qin Feiyang in shock. What was going on? Could it be that the breakthrough failed? But it was impossible. The white-eyed wolf had succeeded before. Hui asked, "Qin Feiyang, is there a problem somewhere?" "How would I know?" Qin Feiyang frowned and sensed the energy in his body, only to find that the energy of the Chaos Divine Pill had already dissipated. Did he really fail? But that wasn't right. Didn't the white-eyed wolf break through 2 small realms in a row? Could it be because the white-eyed wolf is about to break through to the perfect Divine Lord realm, So the energy of the Chaos Divine Pill is just enough for him to break through to the half-step Divine Lord realm? Hui frowned. It doesn't make sense. Qin Feiyang shook his head. Because the energy of the Chaos Divine Pill had not been used up. In other words, success or failure had nothing to do with energy or cultivation. Could it be luck? He couldn't be so unlucky. Oh well. This time, there was a deafening wolf howl outside. Qin Feiyang got up and walked out of the cultivation room. He saw that the white-eyed wolf had already broken through the Divine Lord realm and successfully opened the door of potential. When they saw Qin Feiyang, the Fire Lotus and the white-eyed wolf were stunned. What was going on with his cultivation? Why did he stop at the perfect Divine Lord realm? He failed. Hui smiled helplessly. Failed? How is that possible? Didn't he just say that he would definitely break through 2 small realms? The white-eyed wolf looked at Hui and said, he lied to you. Before this, he didn't know the effect of the divine-level Chaos Divine Pill at all. Hui said, he didn't know? Then isn't he using me as a lab rat? The white-eyed wolf was stunned. Ahem. Hui coughed dryly and nodded. That's a bit of it. Little Qin Zi, you bastard. The white-eyed wolf suddenly burned with anger and rushed toward Qin Feiyang with bared fangs and brandished claws. Hui had a face full of schadenfreude. But suddenly, the white-eyed wolf braked and stopped, looking at Qin Feiyang. What's going on? He actually held back and didn't make a move. This isn't the white-eyed wolf's character. Hui muttered. The white-eyed wolf suddenly grinned and also gloated. Screw him then. Anyway, I've already succeeded. It doesn't matter. And from this incident, it proves that my character is better than his. The corner of Qin Feiyang's mouth twitched. Are you jealous? Jealous? Hate? Haha. You want to screw me over, but in the end you screwed yourself over. You can slowly be annoyed. I'm going to cultivate. Bye. The ingrate smiled mischievously at Qin Feiyang. Then he walked with small steps while humming a little tune. He proudly entered the cultivation room. Qin Feiyang smiled bitterly. There was no other way. This guy should be showing off. Who told him to fail? But what was going on? Qin Feiyang couldn't figure out the reason for his failure. It couldn't be because of his character. It seemed that his character wasn't that bad. No. I have to find out the reason. Qin Feiyang muttered and looked at Fire Lotus. Girl, give me 10 sets of herbs and then go to the Black Tortoise world to find 10 Sir Gods. I want to try. Okay. Fire Lotus shook her head and smiled. She took out 10 sets of herbs and handed them to Qin Feiyang. Then she turned and left the castle, disappearing. Qin Feiyang also entered the cultivation room and started refining pills. Not long later, Fire Lotus returned with 10 people. There were men and women, old and young. Their cultivation was all at the half-step Sir God level. In the Black Tortoise world, a half-step Sir God was already considered a top expert. Therefore, their status in the Black Tortoise world was not low. But at this moment, standing in the castle hall, their eyes were filled with fear. Wasn't this the Devil's Land? Why was there not only an astonishing medicinal field here, but also an ancient castle? Da-da. Along with the sound of footsteps, Qin Feiyang and his group walked out of the cultivation room. The 10 people were shocked. They couldn't see through the cultivation of these people. No wonder Pai Lupi and Theta Wang ordered that no one was allowed to enter the Devil's Land. It turned out that there was such a terrifying group of people hidden there. Wait, he seems familiar. Suddenly, the 10 of them stared at Qin Feiyang with a trace of suspicion in their eyes. It's him. Qin Feiyang, who destroyed the Vanga League and Fengtian Palace back then. One of the old men exclaimed. Actually, to the Black Tortoise world, the name Qin Feiyang was not unfamiliar. Because not only had Qin Feiyang wandered in the Black Tortoise world back then, he had also been seen when the Gate of Rebirth was opened, and the living beings in the Black Tortoise world were revived. In the Black Tortoise world, Qin Feiyang was a legend. However, no one in the Black Tortoise world knew that Qin Feiyang was the master of the Black Tortoise world. They also didn't know that the divine treasures and divine items that suddenly appeared in these years were given to them by Qin Feiyang. Hello. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. The 10 people's faces were full of panic. Don't be afraid. I didn't ask you to come here to hurt you. On the contrary, I'm here to give you good fortune. Qin Feiyang chuckled. With a wave of his hand, 10 chaos divine pills appeared. Dragon-shaped core energy. They're all divine pills. The 10 people were shocked. In the ancient world, divine pills were rare, let alone in the Black Tortoise world. In the eyes of the living beings in the Black Tortoise world, divine pills were legendary items. And now, 10 divine pills appeared at once. One could imagine how big of an impact it would have on them. Each of you will take one now. Qin Feiyang smiled. Is there such a good thing? The 10 people were stunned and their eyes became vigilant. Who knew what kind of pill it was? What if it was poisonous? Hurry up, or we'll kill you. The 3 black leopard brothers released their auras and ferocious auras. They were all half-stepped to the divine realm. Their auras were no doubt comparable to the might of the heavens to the 10 half-step divine lords.